Welcome everybody to today's stream. Hope you had a nice day so far. And let's have some fun together. Let's go for some hunting until we get into the World vs. World map. Just takes like a few hours, I guess. Okay. There we go. Welcome. So, how many people are against me here? Looks like a few too many. No, I don't know. One left. Okay, it's a fair 1-on-1 now. Should win this. It's a dragon hunter with a longbow. Not too scary of an opponent. Oh, the guy is back again. That's not nice. Let's try to be focusing on this guy. Yeah. Interesting. We might get this. We might get this 1v2. Was a nasty interrupt, but I think now this guy's out of cooldowns. Oh, that's painful. The longbow dragon hunter is free casting on me. That's also not what we want. How many people are here? Like, all of them are just hitting me. That's mean. They are so mean. Okay, I guess they have this guy. If they kill him, I can rally from it. Yeah, I'm rallying. Nice. Yeah, that's too many. 3 people chasing. Can't do it. Welcome, neighbor. Welcome. Yeah, just enjoying my queue time, getting into the map. We will see if we can make it this evening. Look at those queues. We have like 50 on Eternal Battlegrounds and like over 20 on the other ones. Let's see if I can get in. That will be quite annoying. But at some point, I hope we make it. So I hope you had a nice day. Just like waiting for the queue pop at some point, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's nice. I personally really like those rush events, not only World vs. World, PvP is good as well. I think the return to achievements and stuff like that is good. I like those events, but I think the best ones are the competitive ones because they give you a lot of rewards. So if you are not a World vs. World or PvP player, during those rush events, I would highly recommend you to play it anyway, just for a bit, because you get so much loot from it. It's actually insane. Welcome, Time Swift. Welcome. I'm good. How are you doing? So you get so much loot from this, you get a lot of those tickets. If you need that for legendaries, you can get that actually quite easily now. And most importantly, it gives you the buff. So this buff you can see here in the bottom right of your screen. It gives you 100% more World vs. World experience. It gives you 25% more World vs. World reward track progress, just baseline. Just by being in the map, you get more rewards. And you get 50% more magic find. It's quite nice. But you also get the World vs. World Rush Champion, and you get 150 instant reward track progress. This is insane. So if you are just getting the achievements, you get a lot of instant reward track progress, which then, for example, can be used to get the Gift of Battle, or any other reward track that you want to get. If you want to get for the dungeon achievements, if you want to go for the End of Dragons legendary, or if you just want to get a lot of Mystic Clovers, all of that will be very easy during this time. And always try to click on this auto repeat button if you want to spam the same reward track over and over, because if you don't have that enabled, so just like this one, it will happen that you accept this and you will get all of them at once. You can't select when you will get them, just all of them will happen at once. That means that you will get this reward track and go into the next one. Don't know what's the rule there. You will go into another one, and it might be one that you don't want to get into. So always activate this looping feature so that you will always use the same reward track. It's really good. Really good time to get into World vs. World. Welcome, Wolf. Welcome. Trying to follow the new Chrono build video you posted, but I can't seem to get the continuum split working with Mind the Gap. Any tips? So that's like, first of all, if you have high ping, this is like almost impossible to do because you have some kind of, continuum split is an instant cast, whereas Mind the Gap has a delay, and Mind the Gap also has some kind of aftercast, so you have to be really careful, and that's not too easy to do with high ping. If you have low ping, I would say training, practice makes perfect. You will get there at some point, but I have to also mention that you can easily avoid this by just saying, I want to alter my rotation a bit if you just consistently fail that, and just say, okay, I will just fully cast it and then go and cast it like after, so you cast the 2 skill, fully cast it, and then go into your continuum split. Yes, it will not reset when you come back out, but that's not too bad because it's only 4-second cooldown, so you can just wait a bit longer or just use the 5 skill instantly. So it should work as well. Thanks, Alshin, for the follow. Really appreciate it. But I think you can do it, and if you can't because you just consistently fail, that's completely okay. Just a little bit swapping up the 2 and the 5 skills when to use them, and you will be fine as well. Yes, there's currently a World vs. World event happening. Thanks, by the way, Shadow Res, for the support. Really appreciated donation last time. Just forget to mention it. So there is currently a World vs. World rush happening, and it's really, really good. It gives you more reward track progress passively from just being in the map, and it gives you almost like 2 reward tracks, I think, for instance completion. So you just go and capture some camps, capture some castles and stuff, and you will actually get 2 reward tracks like just instantly. It's really, really good. And it's really nice that is happening right now, because that's obviously something that brings people into World vs. World, but it's also a good time to get, for example, if you want to go for Gift of Battle. Because this is now, if you want to get this and you are like someone that doesn't like to play World vs. World, you will only need like 3 hours and 20 minutes with maximum boosters to get 1 Gift of Battle. And this is not including the stuff that you get from the instant reward check progress, because then it's even faster. So it's really, really good how much you can actually like save on World vs. World time. So highly recommend that if you want to play this game mode or want to get Gift of Battle for your legendary in the future, get it now. It's really, really good. Yes, I did Snowdrop. Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to get into World vs. World because it's just a very like, it's easy. It's everyone plays. It's not like a crazy like, you don't have to be like a full tryhard player to actually go into World vs. World. Just have fun, and you will probably get a lot of rewards just by playing. You don't have to know what actually is happening. Just run around with like other people, and you will actually be fine most of the time. Of course, don't expect to kill everybody, because sometimes you're fighting better players. That happens. But if you are like just wanting to get into the game mode, it's a really good time to actually do that. Yeah. You just go on to press your, where is it? For me, it's like B, but just press this button here, World vs. World, this castle, this tower, and then go and join one of the maps here in this map selection. It's really easy to get into. Oh, you have to be careful on this map though, because you can actually fall down. Just don't want to like show that here. It's a little bit bright, I have to be honest. Let's put it down, the shaders. There we go. A little bit better. I would have no clue what I'm doing. I mean, that's no problem. Like I said, this is a game mode. It's not like PvP where you are like, really your team is like struggling hard if you're like misplaying or something. No, don't worry. Just play the game mode, have fun, and you will actually like get something out of it. If you enjoy it, it's even better, of course. Yeah, it's really nice. I'm new to World vs. World. What are your recommendations? Any specific builds, gear, legendary? So I would say just get in there. If you're level 80, just play anything and get in there, have fun. Don't expect to like kill everyone, of course, but just if you like the game mode, play either do some roaming, like running around alone, just capturing some camps, trying to get some 1-on-1s or something. But if you like to just experience the classic World vs. World, you just run around with like at least 10 players, just like I'm just doing, just randoms, and just try to kill them. And like just have some big Zerg fights, they are called, sometimes it's even 50 players, and you just try to just have fun, try to kill them and get the objectives and stuff, defend them, and you will actually like have a lot of fun even with like not an optimal build. So highly recommend that to try out. You see, that's just like we are free casting on them while they are free casting on us, and that's just world versus world in a nutshell, you know, that you don't have to understand what's actually going on, just spam your attacks, have fun. Of course, you can make a lot of like crazy gameplay and stuff and make some really like try hard like compositions and all that stuff. You can do that, but it's not like really necessary for the most part. I really appreciate the effort you put into your content. It helped me a lot getting into the game. Perfect. That's what I want to hear. Of course, I want to like just get more new players, like even returning players back into the game. It's really nice if I can do that. So glad I'm helping. Yeah, why I'm in the edge of the mist? Good question. Maybe it's because like all of the queues are like happening right now. It's insane. You know, World versus World Rush brings a lot of people into World versus World, and you have crazy queues. You know, we have someone here in chat that said they have 100 queue on ED. Yeah, I'm not sure if you get in then, you know, this evening. It's really, there is a lot of stuff happening. Welcome, Roaming Spirit. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, so it's a good time to get into World versus World. So there, I have a video just uploaded today where I also talk about the buffs that you should get. So be sure to check that one out on my YouTube channel. Its link is in the description of the stream right now. It's really, really easy to get all the buffs. It's not too bad. And you don't even need all of them. You know, just get the ones that you can get, and you will actually get just some really nice reward track increases and just passive loot. It's really nice. World versus World, every 5 minutes you get rewarded for playing it. So you don't even have to like commit really hard to play this game mode. You know, just playing and just being in the map, you will actually get something out of that. So yeah, just have fun. Nice, that's nice to hear. If it's your favorite game mode, it's the best time to play it then. I was playing World vs. World yesterday the entire day and got my first gift of battle. Like, now you got addicted. It's perfect timing then, you know. Then now you can actually enjoy World vs. World with even like the same content, just getting almost double the rewards. I mean, that sounds good for the next 7 days. Yeah, just go in, have fun. Any class recommendations for 1v2? I really like Daredevil, but it's difficult for Daredevil to 1v1, 1v2. So Daredevil is a build that is, in my opinion, really good at taking fights where you want to actually take. So for example, if you are Daredevil, you can engage the fight because you're fast. And as soon as you get like pressured, you disengage the fight because you're fast. And when that happens, that you just, so to say, disengage and disengage again, that's a build where you can win 1v2s as well. But it's very like challenging to understand when it's a good time to engage, when it's a good time to disengage. And this is like something that you have to learn and have to slowly understand how that works. So I would not recommend playing Daredevil as a new player in World vs. World for roaming. I think builds that are a little bit safer, that are just tanky and have some damage as well. Some bruiser playstyle, something like I'm playing currently, Signet Catalyst, just Celestial Harbinger, something like that, maybe even Condi Untamed. Stuff like that is just a very safe bet, I would say. But you always have to understand, World vs. World is after all a PvP game mode. Yeah, it's just straight up a PvP game mode. What does that mean? That means that if you are like fighting against someone that is better than you, you will lose. Yes, there might be some builds that counter other builds, yes, but most of the time it's just a PvP game mode, which means that if you fight someone that is better than you, you can't expect to win. And that's like the same for 1v2s. If you're better than those guys, you might win. You will probably win. But the likelihood that you are a new player and get into a fight where you actually like consistently win 1v2s is quite low, because obviously people are probably more experienced than you, and it comes with time that you get better. Just always think about that. Yeah. Nice. I mean, we don't even get out of our keep here without getting spawn camped, so I'm not sure, Roaming Spirit, if we can actually do some duels or something. That's probably not gonna happen, but I really hope to get soon out of this map and get into the real map. Q5, Q2, I think I might actually get soon in there. That's good at least. You know, Edge of the Mist is good and all, but it's just not good enough for me to make a lot of content. I think it's way more interesting to have the normal map. That's a little bit more interesting, to be honest. That's why I'm playing FF14 after Fractals. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I was actually doing a lot of Fractals lately, but I thought today, you know, it's a really good day to play World vs. World, and I was early with the queuing, so that's why I got into the first map right now. That I don't want to do Fractals right now, maybe later, but just have fun, Snowdrop, don't worry. Don't worry. So we have some big fight here, very good, at least 25 players, that's what we want. Let's get there. What spec builds are currently top 2 for solo farming strongest bosses with decent DPS and high survivability against high burst damage from boss? So always when the boss does a lot of direct damage to you, you don't want to run a power build. That's just straight up true. If you're fighting any boss in the open world that is just very like consistently pressuring you with direct damage, then you want to play something that provides... That was too close. Yeah, then you want to play something with toughness. And power builds struggle a bit with getting toughness because that's always something that a power build not really gets that easily. So Celestial is the way to go. I would say Celestial Untamed is really, really good for soloing really hard-hitting content. And I also think Celestial or even Trailblazer, Reaper, Scourge, that works really well. But I think there are a lot of builds that I like mentioned in my solo tier list, all of them that are Condi based, I would say are really good that are in S tier, in the strong tier. So yeah, I would give that a try and you will probably succeed, at least if you know what bosses to fight. You know, sometimes you also have to have encounter knowledge to actually kill them. Hope that helps. Yeah, I'm sorry, I just want to leave the map as soon as possible. After all, it's just Edge of the Mist. It's not the real game mode, so to say. I really want to play a little bit more of like fighting against like enemies and having fair fights to some extent. Getting keeps and stuff as well. That's a Power Mirage, that's a good target for me. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No. Not here anymore. And now they are coming as well. That's not good. Not good. No, I have to leave. Not sure if I get out of this, to be honest. What do you think about Dragon Hunter with Longbow and World vs. World roaming? I think it's decent. I wouldn't say it's like a really, really good spec. I would say it's probably better running some kind of Willbender or something like that. But I think it's like, for me, a decent spec. I would say if you enjoy Dragon Hunter, you will probably get a really good time out of it. I would not say it's the best roaming build, but just if you like it, easy. Then go for it, have fun, and you will probably succeed. Does it matter if I close Eternal Battleground or any other ones? No, you can go to any one of them. It's typically EB, Eternal Battlegrounds, is just a little bit more like popular. So in not World vs. World Rush events, typically there are more people, just random people running around there. So you might have a better chance of finding a really big circ, but that's just my experience. Doesn't need to be true, to be honest. And yeah, you will see where are people. You know, that's always like just go there where people are and you will have some fun. That's just don't like if you're queuing in the middle of the night and you are running around alone and you never find anybody, then of course that's a little bit sad. But typically if you're playing at prime time, there will be actually always someone around and you will have really good time, especially if you want to get the stuff for the Gift of Battle and stuff right now. It's really, really like rewarding right now. Should my goal be to attempt to buy Ascended gear from the merchant with the World vs. World currency in this event? I mean, it depends. If you don't have any Ascended gear, it can be your goal, yeah? I think that's a reasonable goal. But if you already have Ascended gear, you can also save the stuff for example, for the World vs. World Legendary, where you need a lot of tickets, yeah. Welcome, Napoleon. Welcome. Yeah, sometimes it's like, if you want to get specific achievements, it's a little bit harder to get them. But if you like just playing the game mode, having fun, you will actually get a decent amount of the achievements just passively. So highly recommend just having fun and playing the game mode, and you will probably get all of the achievements over the course of this week. Yeah. Yes, Filthy, I did. You know, it's the summer look after all. Toughness stat also increases defense of the untamed pet? No, it does not. But if you have enough toughness and you're like somewhat control over the pet, you will actually still succeed, you know. If you see that the pet is about to die, you can like say, come back to me, and then it will not take that much damage anymore. But if you see that your pet is always dying, you can also try to put it on like peaceful, and it will not attack the boss, and then it will not die, and you can use their attacks all the time. So pets are a little bit weird, but it will not be affected by toughness, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Longbow Dragon Hunter seems like a fun build to play. I'm not sure if it's like the craziest build, but especially in a Zerg, I would say Longbow is a really, really fun weapon for Dragon Hunter or for Guardian in general. Yeah, I mean, it's always a little bit sad if you have too much cute, you know. It's still a lot of Q here, but at least we get some people here now and have a fight without like having to wait like for 2 hours or something, and then everyone is already gone. So let's get some healing out, but I feel like our team is just not good enough. They are too organized. Also quite laggy, to be honest. That's always like World versus World. Sometimes it's just too laggy. If you're wondering, I'm playing a healing catalyst here, just nothing special, just supporting. But it didn't help too much, to be honest. Yeah, it's quite active. You know, this is like the time to play World versus World. If you want to have active stuff, that's where you want to actually play World versus World. So get some nice healing output. I mean, the healing is nice on this build, I have to be honest. It is also a good time to grind conflux due to additional tickets. Exactly. If you want to grind any World versus World related stuff, now is the time to do that. It's really amazing to play World versus World right now. Really? Yeah, my hair. Yeah, what can I say, you know, 50? I'm like, that's just like, I accept it, you know. I'm not the youngest anymore. I just accept it. You have to live with that. Otherwise you will not be happy, you know. Yeah, so the World versus World event is just like just play World versus World, get more rewards. That's like in a nutshell what the event is. You get more rewards for just being in the map. You get more rewards for doing some achievements that are not giving achievement points, but just increasing your loot that you get. And it's just really like straightforward. Just play World versus World, destroy some caravans, keeps, capture a little bit of like some castles, camps and stuff, and you will get the achievements. And it's just a really good time to play World versus World, right? If you can get into the map, yeah. So let's go back to our commander here. Very good, very good. Maybe we can actually get the defense here. Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't say I would say Roaming Spirit, you're right. It is for like PvE players, it's way more exciting to get into this event. But I would say even for a competitive mode player, like a World versus World player, you know, if you play the game mode just passively as well and play it all the time, then why not? You know, you get more rewards for playing the stuff that you would do usually as well. So I think it's just everyone wins with this. Of course, you could say if you're World versus World player and you want to get into the maps, the queues can be annoying. Yes, I get that argument for sure. But to be honest, I would rather have a live game mode where everyone is like queuing and you want to get in than no one being on the map at all. So I think that's, for me, that's like the situation. I've made a Power Mirage double greatsword build for Zergs. That is really, really good. Yeah, just trying to like always dodge, spam the ambush because it's not reflectable. It's really good. It's like some kind of meta build actually. Yeah, good one, El Charlatan. What do you think are good builds to get into PvP? PvP is also something that I would say, if you fight against someone that is better than you, it doesn't really matter too much about the build you will lose, even if you play some kind of meta build. But I would say it's the best builds to get into PvP are some like side noders typically, or maybe some teamfight DPS, but I would not recommend playing support. And I think Thief can also be quite punishing because you have a very special role in PvP. So I would recommend for some kind of like Warrior side node or Catalyst side node or something like that. Or if you wanted to, you can play Condi Reaper for fights, team fights. That can work as well. But the problem is always world versus world is the same like PvP. If you play it and you are just dead at it, you will lose often. And that's okay. You know, you have to learn at some point. But you can't expect to win every single match just because you play a meta build. That's not how it works. In PvE, it is a little bit more like that because there is no real fail state. But in competitive modes, it's just very likely that you will lose against someone that is better than you. So keep that in mind. Just try to have fun, try to improve, and you will actually get better at it as well. What's the question, Mo? I can't keep up with all the questions, you know. Sometimes you have to repeat. Sorry. There is no other skill that's similar to Arcdivider, but if you look for AoE, there is options with Spear, Mesmer, or Ele. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. Like, Staff on Elementalist is one of the best weapons for AoE. You can go for Spear on Elementalist. You can go for Spear on Mesmer. I would say Longbow even on Warrior, especially Berserker, has a lot of cleave. There are a lot of like cleave weapons, especially in the meta builds for DPS builds, like Holosmith has some nice cleave. There are some builds that are having a lot of cleave, and typically those are played as DPS. But Arcdivider is a very special skill, I would say. Not a lot of skills are actually quite similar to this one. Okay. I see, Filthy, I see. Let's get some buffs and get some kills here this way. Very good. Can Core Necromancer use Greatsword without Weapon Master expansion? No. You have to have the Weapon Mastery to be able to use Greatsword. Or you have to be a Reaper and then you can use it. But there is no way for a Core Necromancer to use Greatsword if you don't have any expansion. That's not possible. Yeah, it's too hot. It's really hot. That's why I have this summer look as well. It's not like no hair at all, but it's better than how much I had before. That much is for sure. It's actually still a little bit like spammy, I have to be honest. Okay, it's a little better now. Just a bit extra gold for the event, but have a Zergfest 24/7. Yeah, I think that's fair. If you're a roamer, that might not be the best event for you, but I think a lot of players, roaming Spirit, we have to be honest, are really engaged with World versus World because of this like big Zerg fights. And because of that, like a lot, it's one of the most like commonly played events, those World versus World rush events. And I have to be honest, if you want to grind World versus World experience or just getting the World versus World Gift of Battle or any reward track, it's the best time to play it. It's just straight up the best. Yeah. World versus Rush is fine even for clueless players. As long as you follow the commander, you will get progress. Yeah, I think so. I would not recommend a new player to play the game mode as a single roamer and just run around without any allies, because then you will get really, really hard punished for that. But if you just play... Oh my god. If you just play and want to just get some fun out of it, always sticking on the commander, and you will have a good time for the most part. But you can see I'm just like not playing optimally here. I'm just trying to have fun, and sometimes you will just lose because the enemy team is like a full guild. That just happens, but you can still have fun, you know. You will still get some loot out of that, and in general it's always a good time to play World versus World when a lot of other people are playing, because then you have more engagement in the whole content. Thanks for all the follows, really appreciate it. Wasn't off cooldown. What's the difference between Edge of the Mist and World versus World? So Edge of the Mist, you still get a little bit of like progress in your reward track, but you don't get any pips. And World versus World, the general like Borderlands are way more active. It's just in Edge of the Mist, you have to understand, is like was made as some overflow map. So that means when everything is on queue, you actually can go to Edge of the Mist to get into some World versus World action, but it is not like crazy in terms of what you get from rewards, and you can't expect to be a crazy organized parties there. Sometimes there are, but most of the time there aren't. And also I would say the normal maps are just a little bit better in terms of like general gameplay and design, because Edge of the Mist is a little bit weird. You can like knock players off and it's fun at first, but you would not expect to play someone like 1k hours in Edge of the Mist, because it's a little bit like a gimmicky map. It's a little bit annoying to get around. For example, you can't use the mount, and it's just not perfect. So Edge of the Mist is a little bit outdated. Just play the normal maps if you can. Yeah. If only PvE frogs would realize this, you will fail and it's okay. Yeah, I think failing is like the standard state to learning, you know. You typically learn by failing, and I think that's something that is not like the nicest feeling, but I think it's good if you can accept that, and it's really true for World vs. World and PvP in specific, I would say. You will only learn if you understand what you did wrong the first time, or before you like get better, for sure. I hope they make that Ranger spec an AoE skill based. Yeah, I think AoE would be really good for Ranger. I think in general, Ranger is a spec that lacks a little bit of AoE, especially for Zerg play. So I really hope that this will be like the Pact, however, like, or how is it called, Gale Song or something like that. This might be like some kind of AoE specific skills. Maybe the pet is not as important and can die, because that's always something that's a little bit annoying in World vs. World. Your pet dies almost instantly. So if you have any value in the pet, it dies. So you lose that value, and that's not good. So that's why Soul Beast is somewhat of a good elite spec for Zerging, but then it's also not, because you don't have any good weapons for that. So yeah, I really hope that the Ranger spec is somewhat like AoE heavy. That would be nice to help Rangers out to get into like Zerg gameplay without being like forced to play Druid, because that's like the thing that is like, that's what like typical Ranger players are playing in Zergs right now. You play Druid, that's it. Ooh. 3-way fight. Okay, I mean, some of them are dying. That's good. Oh no, maybe me, I'm dying as well. Yeah, sadly our server seems to be the worst here. That's not good. Welcome Gale, welcome, welcome. Welcome Caspi as well. Yeah, World vs. World Rush. I know. You can see a lot of people, big queues, big gameplay. Hopefully, let's see. Yeah, Edge of the Mist is just not very much alive anymore. It's sad, because it's like back in the old day, World vs. World was really active, and you actually had a need for those Edge of the Mist map as overflow maps. But it's just sadly not the case anymore. They're getting so hard farmed here, that's crazy. Really? My microphone is cutting off? Really? Is that for everyone? Then I have to change some settings, I'm not sure. Should not be happening, to be honest. Yeah, solo roaming is I would say very fun, and oh my god, I'm getting roamed here. It's a fun thing, but in the current state right now, with like 50 people on the map, on each maps, I'm not sure if solo roaming is the thing that you want to actually play right now. Yeah, core necro. I mean, I think roaming is in my opinion, roaming is, if you want to win and you really like want to win every single 1-on-1, you have to play some toxic builds, you know, some builds that are tanky, that are some really annoying builds. Or you have to play some really bursty builds and just outplay the opponent. But I think both ways is not very healthy to get in as a new player. That's the problem. I think roaming for a new player can be really frustrating, because as soon as you fight someone that has a decent build and knows what they are doing, you might not like the outcome, and that's not nice. You know, you want to have a smooth like walk to increasing your experience level and not be like completely farmed all the time, because then you don't know how to improve in a game mode. So I think roaming for World vs. World is actually not as easy to get into as people think it might be, to be honest. Okay, I mean, then I'm sorry, then I don't know what's the problem with YouTube right now with the chat, but I guess that's what happens when sometimes the second like stream cuts off. Sorry for that. I don't know. Not on my side, I guess, then maybe YouTube problem. Have seen a couple of Thieves, just annoying groups. Yeah, it can be really annoying how Thief plays. Go in, go out, go in, go out. This disengaged playstyle, it can be really annoying, especially if you don't know how to deal with that. But it's also not the easiest to play. So if you just fail one dodge or something, you will die from it. That can be really punishing. But in general, I would say this is not a gameplay that I would say is succeeding against a 50-man Zerg. It's just succeeding against some bad players that struggle behind, that are just standing off Zerg. But I think it's nice to have different builds and different approaches on how to play the game mode. I just think roaming is a toxic place. Not in terms of like toxic behavior, that can happen as well, but I mean more the builds are like, you have to play some builds that are actually somewhat, I don't know, not fun to fight against. That's just like, I feel like that's the status quo there, which is a little bit sad, of course. So let's see if we finally, no, I think we still can't win this. We lose it every time against them. Trying to support my team here, but it doesn't help. Maybe I should play some DPS build and not only play support here. Sad. Top 3 toxic builds in my opinion. I have to be honest, there are so many, I don't want to name all of them, but I can tell you I have a roaming tier list coming up where I rate all of them, and then I will go into more detail there. And I also have to be honest, some of the toxic builds I don't even want to mention here on stream, because they are just very toxic. You know, I don't want to fight against them because they are just really, really annoying to fight against. And it's always better to have a build that is somewhat fun to fight against than someone that plays a really, really, like, I don't know, really annoying build to fight that is not even that good. It's just really annoying. And we have a lot, I mean a lot of those currently running around. So roaming is just like a game mode where I would say, oh my god, there again. But now I'm on a solo build, you know. God, 2 Thieves, what is this? Good job. They outplayed me hard here. I wonder if Paragon's spec for Warrior will outclass Firebrand in World vs. World. I hope so, but I doubt it, to be honest. I think Firebrand is such a good spec for supporting, you know, it's just perfect. I don't know what a Paragon would even be better, you know. I think the raw output of a Firebrand with stability, with healing, with wounds, with utility, it's just so good. I don't see how a Paragon can be better for World vs. World. I really don't. But I would hope so. You know, I don't want to have like Firebrand for 10 years. Like that's not what I want. So let's see if Ainit agrees there. World vs. World is so boring. You get separated from the Zerg, have fun waiting until this disperse because you will die trying to get back. Yeah. I mean, World vs. World can be frustrating, I can see that, but I think it's also quite fun. It's very unique. Not a lot of other games have that kind of game mode, so I'm always happy to have that, to play that, even if there are some issues. I agree. Some issues are there and that can be very frustrating. So I would always recommend, if you're playing in a Zerg, always have a Zerg build and a roaming build on one character so that you can switch when you're running like half of the map alone. Don't play on a Zerg build, play on a roaming build so that if someone ganks you, you have a chance of actually winning this and go back to the Zerg without like dying 7 times to trying to get there. But of course, that's not for everyone. There is a commander, and you can also join guilds and Discord channels. But of course, when I'm streaming, it's really like typical to not play with a commander or like be in voice chat or something, because I'm obviously like streaming. So I can't like listen to someone else talking and giving commands while I also talk. That would just be like, I would go insane. So I have to like play around like a little bit of a like headless chicken and run around and help them, support them from behind without too much of like failing and like not following the commands because I don't hear the commands. But yes, typically if you're like a player that doesn't stream, you should probably go into voice chat and listen to them. Yeah. Can I do this event even though I don't have experience in World vs. World? Yes, just join any map, just find another like commando or any people running around and just join them, and you will have a great time, in my opinion. If you like this kind of big fighting combat. If you're of course looking for 101, then it might be a little bit more challenging, but even then you can just join and try it out. Exactly. Minstrel Cutter Spear Harbins are super toxic, and I don't want to recommend those builds to anyone because I don't want to fight them, and I personally also think they are not like crazy good. It's more that they are really annoying to fight against. You know, that's the thing. And I think in World vs. World, in roaming specifically, you don't necessarily have to win 101. Sometimes it's good enough to annoy the enemy so long that they just say, I don't want to fight you anymore. That can also work, and that's, for some people, that's also fun. I don't like that, but I guess you could make that argument. Yeah, Signet Cutter is one of those. Signet Cutter is very toxic. It's just a build that is so strong and so annoying to fight. I think there is like almost no build that can kill a Signet Cutter in a 101. If it's a fair 101, you know, not some thief coming out of stealth, bringing me to 20% health and like, then it's a 101. That's not fair. I'm talking about a fair fight. Then I think Signet Cutter, Harbinger, some really nasty untamed builds, they can like be almost unkillable for any other build. Yeah. But like I said, roaming Till is coming up very soon. Is there a good Reaper build? Yeah, you can play Reaper in Zergs as a DPS build. You can also play Reaper as a roamer, but I think it's not the best roamer. It's a decent roamer, but not the craziest. Yeah. Exactly. Any Condi or any bunker in general is just very annoying to fight against. I would not say necessarily toxic, it's just very annoying to fight against. And I think annoying, if it's too annoying at some point, it will get toxic, especially if they can also win the 101 just after a while, because you don't have enough sustain. So for example, I like to play Willbender, I like to play some Spear Mirage or something like that, because they are really fun to play, have really good burst damage. But as soon as you fight a build that is like toxic in that sense, so some Spear Harbinger or looking for Signet Cutter or something Condi Untamed or something like that, they will just survive your bursts and then they will kill you. You know, that you just like, as soon as you can't burst them, you have not enough sustain to outlast them, they will win. And that's sad. So that's what it can be annoying and toxic at the same time for sure. So for PvE, I would recommend Snowcrows. It's a really, really good site for finding your PvE builds. They have nowadays open world builds, raid builds, they have like builds for everyone, even low intensity builds, everything is there. I can highly recommend that. I would say Meta Battle is more a website where you can find builds for all game modes. I would not typically look for PvE there, because PvE you have Snowcrows, which is a little bit more like higher level, more details there. And Meta Battle also has some builds that are crazy cooks, so not always believe every single build that is there. Sometimes there is a build that can work in like 2% of the cases, but I think Snowcrow's website is amazing, so be sure to check those out if you're looking for PvE builds in specific. Yeah. As a new player, it will be good for me to just follow your commands. Exactly. Just, you know, I would say not only for new player. I think for most players, if you're playing in a Zerg and your commander actually is on voice chat, it is definitely highly recommended to join the voice chat to actually listen to the commands they give you, because then you can follow. And if everyone follows, it's way more likely that you actually win the fight than if everyone is like me and just like currently not in a voice chat and just doing whatever they think is good, because then you have uncoordinated damage, uncoordinated healing, and that's not good enough to fight against another organized group. So highly recommend that for everyone, not only for new players, to join the voice chat. Yeah. If you think roaming is sometimes toxic, what playstyle do you mainly play in World vs. World? I mainly play roaming. So I wouldn't say that roaming is necessarily toxic. I'm just saying there are builds that are really unfun to fight against. That's just the main thing that I want to get across here. You can't expect roaming to be absolutely like everyone fights a very fair build where you see every single attack, and if you dodge all of the important ones, you will win. That's just not how it is. World vs. World is like an unbalanced game mode, just baseline. That means that in roaming you have some really, really strong classes and you have some really, really bad classes. And if you fight as someone that has fun with a specific build, but it's not a really good one, and you fight against someone that actually has a really, really good roaming build, you will never win. That's just the unbalancedness of this game mode. And if you accept that and have fun in this game mode, then you will not struggle too much. You know, there is the thief again, come on. 2 thieves actually. It's just crazy. You know, they want to gank me in a Zerg. Interesting. I mean, luckily I'm tanky, but still, it's just annoying at this point. Is there a roaming guild I can join? I mean, there are many roaming guilds that you could join. I don't know a specific one that currently is recruiting, but you can just look in the guild recruitment Reddit, for example, or just ask around in map chat. You will find roaming guilds for sure. So Signet Catalyst. Signet Catalyst, I can show you the build, or I can like, this is the build. You play 4 signets and you are like really like nasty to kill because you have good damage, you have really good reflect uptime, you have really good like just general stability uptime and stuff. It's really annoying to fight against this build, specifically if you're not on a S tier roaming build as well. So that's just like the top tier roaming builds. If you don't play them, you probably will not have a chance against anyone playing them, to be honest. That's just sadly the truth, even if you are better than them. That's just, sometimes the skill gap doesn't really matter if the build is the build gap is too high. Yeah. It's a fundamental issue that power-based builds can't go super tanky while doing damage. With Condi builds, you don't need crit chance of ferocity. Yeah, I think that's a big issue, and I really hope that the next expansion actually brings new gear sets that actually make it a little bit more likely to actually get tankiness, or maybe the new elite specs actually have that stuff as well, that you can go tanky a little bit with power builds. But I think it's a lot of people don't like to have a tanky Condi playstyle. You know, if power builds would have the option to play a little bit more tanky, I think a lot of people would like that. But I think you really have to be careful, because I'm not a big fan of having too much tanky stats running around. For example, if you remember like 6 months ago, we had fights where 50 versus 50 players were standing in each other, free casting, and you could not resolve the fight because the tanky stats were too oppressive. So I really hope that they take care of that and make there will be kills. You know, there should be kills after a while. In a 1-on-1 as well. The 1-on-1 should not take for 10 minutes. I think it should be over after 1, 2, 3 minutes, because you should not out-sustain the damage anyone else does, especially if they are playing some kind of offensive build. So I really hope that they take care of that, but I can see your argument for sure. No, you don't need any expansion actually to play some of the max level content. But of course, if you want to get access to specific content like raids or some strike missions, or most strike missions actually, for example, or just open world maps, you need to buy the expansions. So the expansions, I would say, is something that gets the game to a higher level in terms of just general fun. But you don't need to get any expansion. You can get to max level and actually explore some maps there as well. So it's like a free trial, I would say. And after that, you have to purchase at some point the expansion, especially if you want to get, for example, more interesting elite specs for your class. So I can highly recommend it. Is it mandatory to dye your gear in one color? No, it's not. This is just if you are referring to the stuff that you see that everyone is running around a specific color, that's because you can make standard enemy models and standard friendly models on, and everyone looks the same. So they are like, currently we are the red like server, that's why everyone is a little bit reddish. That's just like a graphic setting that I have. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I can fully understand why you would go with the Condi build, because you can play tanky and do damage. And I think that's a design flaw in that sense, because you can't do that really on power. Power is always way more aggressive than Condi. I think it makes a little bit sense, because Condi is necessarily a fight that takes longer. You can't really burst on Condi, whereas on a power build you can burst way more easily. So I can see the general idea why they did it, but I think it's necessary that they at some point also give us a little bit more tanky stats on a power build without having like crazy tankiness, just a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, you can go tanky, but you will probably deal not enough damage to actually burst someone anymore. That's the problem. You know, if you're playing a power build, I would say your typical idea should be to kill someone fast, because that's what power is really good at it. Condi is something that takes time to kill the enemy. And the problem is you can't do a really crazy good like burst damage combo anymore if you're playing for like full, I would say, like, I don't know, Commander's gear or something like that. If you go for full Marauder or full Demolisher, I think you can still do it to some extent, but even then I think you struggle way more than for going for full Berserker or going some kind of Dragon pieces in there as well. So Yeah, I think the gear stats just don't support crazy bursty playstyle for power build and tankiness at the same time. Can I have a whole PvP experience without disadvantages if I don't purchase any DLC? So I would say you can play it. You will not be able to play every single build that there is. But for example, Core Necromancer right now, Core Guardian, that kind of stuff can work very well in PvP right now. So I think PvP is one of the game modes that you can actually play decently enough without having any expansion. But I would always say if you play the game for like longer than 100, 200 hours, at some point you want to purchase the expansion. There is like, it's very unrealistic to say you can play Guild Wars 2 for 1k hours without having any expansion. It doesn't mean you can't do it. I'm just saying it's unrealistic because you will just like decrease your fun or your just general experience of the game. So I would highly recommend to get the expansion at some point if you enjoy the game. Of course, you can use my referral link in the description down below if you want to purchase it. They need to nerf survivability across the board. Exactly. I think it's just survivability in competitive modes should go down. It should not be like only burst builds, but it should be way more interesting than just having fights that don't resolve like ever. I don't want to have that happen. You know, in PvP, especially if you have some bunker fighting another bunker, that's really annoying. But if you have 50 versus 50 players fighting and like 40 of each of the groups are support, that's also not healthy. So I think there should be some kind of balance, like big like intervention where they say, okay, no, this is not good. We don't want that. We want fights to resolve. So I really hope that comes with a few more like balance patches in the future, especially the new lead specs. Hopefully are more offensive than defensive, but we will see. We will see. Tomorrow we'll get some updates there. Now you can activate it. It's a setting here. So you can just scroll down to go to the options and scroll down to competitive, and then you can enable this. So in World vs. World, if I go Condi, that doesn't need to crit to apply Condi. I can go full Condi, Vitality, Toughness, and Expertise. Exactly. That's what some builds do. You play full Trailblazer, which would give you condition damage and Expertise, while also giving you Vitality and Toughness, so you can go tanky and have damage. Of course, it's not like the most bursty spec, but you can play that, and a lot of builds actually do that, yeah. Exactly, you know, it's like always PvP game modes, or even like every single part of Guild Wars 2 or every single like thing in life, I would say, if you fail at something, you hopefully learn something out of it and just try it again, and you will probably be better off. And if you continue doing this with the right mindset and always try to improve, you will actually succeed and get better at it. That's what I do, and I'm not the best player in Guild Wars 2, but I'm definitely better than a lot of players. So that is a good thing that I would always recommend, having the mindset of trying to improve at the game while just having fun. That's what kept me playing, I would say. Yes, I got ArenaNet partner finally, so thanks for the congratulations. Full Berserker, Dragon Spear, Necro is actually Gearboten with the tankiness. Yeah, I would say that the best part about this is actually I would not go full Berserker actually. I would go with Demolishers. I have a build guide on my YouTube channel, and I would put some Demolisher pieces in so that you actually have some toughness and don't get bursted, because that's the biggest like weakness of the Spear Necromancer, because the sustain is really good. But if you get one shot, you can't resustain because you're on downstat. But if you survive because you have a little bit of toughness, you actually can't get one shot anymore, and then you resustain because you have crazy lifesteal. So this is one of the best roaming builds right now, Power Harbinger with Spear. It's amazing. Yeah, if they would remove Minstrel stats in PvP, or World vs. World rather, this would be like a really big step to actually get people to play a bit more aggressive and think about the team composition a bit more than just saying, oh, let's put 80% supports in our circ. This is just very boring in my opinion. I like playing support, but I don't want to have like just 4 supports so that we are unkillable. I think that's just not fun. So I hope they will do that maybe. Yeah, you don't need to have the mount. If someone is mounted around you, you will get a speed buff, this one here, and you run around as fast as the mount. But with the mount, you can also use the hop and you're a little bit faster, but you don't need the mount. That's correct. I'm good. How are you, Rocket Dog? How are you? You single-handedly made me come back to the game. That's good. That's what we like to hear. Hopefully I got more people back to the game or even new players. So as always, if you have any questions, let me know. I'm always happy to debate, answer stuff. And yeah, be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. I have a lot of cool content there and way more content coming up. I'm very excited for tomorrow and Friday specifically, because tomorrow we will get a preview, and on Friday we'll get a big showcase of the 3 elite specs, the first ones that will come. So we will get the Mesmer one, the Troubadour, we will get the Antiquary, that's the Thief one, and we will get the Elementalist one, which is the Evoker. All 3 of those I'm quite excited to see, especially the Mesmer and the Evoker, to be honest. I'm not that excited about the Thief, but we will see. Will be very interesting in my opinion. So really looking forward to that one. Welcome to the... Can you do a video explaining pre-stacking boons for Fractal? I actually have just like last week I released a short about how pre-stacking works in Fractals, so be sure to check that one out. It's on my YouTube channel. Just looking for pre-stacking on Mesmer or just in general pre-stacking in Fractals. That's really really well explained in there, just really concise in a short how to pre-stack, because a full video is not necessary for the most part. I now want to try Trailblazer Spear Vindicator. Yeah, that looks like a very crazy cook, but Spear Condi Vindicator is actually surprisingly crazy tanky and does some damage. I would say it's not an S tier build for roaming, but it's one of those where I would say it's borderline toxic because it's so tanky. But if you like that playstyle, for sure. My dream is to become a good firebrand. Filthy, you will get there. I have to be honest, I had a really bad experience the last I don't know, 5 days or something. I had in every single strike group that I joined, I had a heal firebrand. And I was playing DPS, or I was playing Alacrity DPS, and I had 10% quickness uptime. So whenever I now join any group or I create any group, I now say only Alacrity heal, so that I don't get any firebrands in there. I really have so bad experience with firebrands in PvE, I don't want to have that. But if you are a good one, then I will let you in the group. So I really hope that will happen in the future, that we got more, firebrands, more good ones. That's the important part. Yeah, of course, I'm trying quite hard to actually get more people and into Guild Wars 2, especially all the game modes and not only open world. I think to make more guides about everything, but I also try to help players wherever there is some need for that. So yeah, try my best. Yeah, I really hope that Engineer gets a really cool one. I think Mechanist was something that I was really, for me, was a big downturner. I was not really excited to play Mechanist at all. And since then, I did not play a lot of Engi, to be honest. Mechanist is a spec that is okay. I like that people want to have that, but I personally don't enjoy it. So I really hope that we get one that is actually for me and that I like to play. That is not some kind of companion pet spec, something that is more active. Really hope that will happen. It could be. That is interesting. Engineer could get a weapon swap. I'm not sure if that's what Engineer needs, to be honest. But maybe, the problem is kits on Engineer are core. So if you give an Engineer a weapon swap, they would still have access to the kits. And if you run 5 kits and have a weapon swap, you would have insane amount of utility and just crazy amounts of weapon skills. But I guess that could work, I really don't know. We will see. Only at least let's say 9 more days. Maybe 16 more days. If it's on Friday next week, we have only 9 days. If it's on Friday in 2 weeks, we have a little bit more time to wait. But it will happen in the next 3 weeks, so that's good that we see it. That will be interesting. Interesting times for sure. It's so weird that you can cast AoE skills in water. What? I guess it works. Cannot wait for Evoker. I cannot stop talking about it to my friend. They got tired about it. I mean, Evoker will be really interesting. I hope it's some kind of fun spec and not only pet spec, minion, Mancer, Elementalist. I think that would be not my type of gameplay. But if it's something interesting, some kind of shamanistic, something in this direction, that is using the nature buffs and stuff like that, and is not pet only, that would be really fun. I would enjoy that. Yeah, Firebrand main, if you play Firebrand really well, I think Firebrand is really good. But the problem is, I don't get a lot of Firebrands main in the groups that are actually good at it. That's the problem. You can be a Firebrand main and you can be quite bad at it. Because your healing and your boon output mostly is position dependent, way more than other supports. And that's something that is not what I would recommend for anyone that actually knows not enough about the gameplay and the encounters to actually make it work. Yeah, Firebrand players, what can I say? I wouldn't like generalize there, but there are so many of them that actually don't know what they are doing. That's the sad part. Yeah, the queue can be really painful. Right now, for us, it's like 20 to 40. That's okay, but it still takes like at least half an hour, probably even an hour to EB. So if you are now like trying to get there, probably you will get in when the general like stuff is over. Thanks 40 for the sub, really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think it's like typically if there's like a queue of 50 or more, then typically you get in when the action is over. So I personally don't even try it then. If there's a 20 person queue, it's okay. But if you go for like over 50, I don't know. Sometimes just play something else, I guess, or a different map. I hope it's a shapeshifter. That could be. Yeah, it could be. We will see. I'm not sure what it will be. I have no clue. We will see what we will get. The first 3 we will get, like I said, tomorrow and on Friday. So looking forward to that very much, actually. I played DPS brand in harder strike missions like TOFCM, which is really fun for me. Yeah, I think Firebrand is really underrated. You don't even have to play healer all the time. You can play full DPS, you can play offensive support. All of that works really, really well. So if you know what you're doing, Firebrand is a really good spec. I'm just saying a lot of people don't know what they are doing and then it's not that good. I'm afraid they will make the new Guardian spec with that flying thing somewhat like what they did with Catalyst, so just core engineer with one more button. I really hope that the Guardian spec will be something interesting and not just another button. That would be a little bit boring, but I really don't know. You know, I think the whole new expansion is focused around giving elite specs some kind of companions and kits. So maybe that is like the whole theme. Maybe we get a Guardian pet or something, maybe. But I don't know. It could be like Catalyst Sphere. I really think that could be like how it works. But I'm not sure if that will be healthy for the game or will be fun. Either way, I would say, yeah, we can't change it, I guess. So just hoping for the best. Nice, 120 EBG crew. Yeah, I mean, then you will not get in today. That much is like pretty much a given. So just accept that, play something else. Sadly, the truth. That was close, my friend. Oh my god, they are always like roaming around as a 5-person group. What? Hoping Antiquary has good systems that are not clunky like all other elite specs before. I really hope that Antiquary is interesting, but to be honest, I personally am not the biggest fan of the current like possible class fantasy of it. I really hope it will be interesting, but I don't really see it right now. This guy is so dead. There we go. Yeah, we get to find out tomorrow, that's correct. What do you think is the most underrated spec? You mean coming or the one that we currently have? Because currently I would say, what's the most underrated spec? Phew, that's a tough question. It depends also on the game mode. I can't say in general. I think all specs are decently playable. I think Spectre is one of the most underrated ones. I think Spectre is in all game modes so good right now with all the buffs that it got. I think a lot of people don't understand how much we actually got of Spectre and how good it is actually right now. So I think that's probably my pick there if I had to pick one for all game modes. Yeah. My Guardian is to be a, my guess is that Guardian is to be a barrier-oriented support. That would be very interesting. That's the one thing that Guardian doesn't have access to. I'm not sure if Guardian needs another support, but I can see why you would say that. And I think that's a really cool idea if they implement it well and make it so that it's a barrier spec that is decent at supporting, but also maybe brings some damage to the table. That would be interesting. I think that could be a really cool idea. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. This event is 7 days. So the World vs. World event is going for 7 days, but it started today. So you have 7 more days until next Tuesday. Yeah, our team is losing again. Who would have thought? Getting farmed like... I think they lost like now, I don't know, at least 6 times, 7 times or something. Yeah, doesn't look that good to be honest. Yeah, sad. Nothing to win here. That's a tough one if you can't separate into game mode or just do in game in general. Yeah, exactly. I think if you separate the game modes, it's way easier to say which one is very underrated. But if you have to choose one for all game modes, I would probably go with Spectre and would put an asterisk there and say that's just like if I really had to choose one. Yeah. Is Signet Cutter with Dagger offhand or Focus? You can play both. Focus is even more defensive than Signet Cutter already is. So I think because you have so many defenses already, I think going for Dagger, the more offensive variant, is my preferred choice. But if you want to go crazy defensive, you could go with Focus. Yeah, both works. I'm not the biggest fan of Focus because I think then you are just like a noodle and don't do any damage because your Dagger is your really big damage skills, but it works. It works. Welcome, Nino. Welcome, welcome. In PvE, I'd say Vindicator is pretty insane, but I've never seen it. I'd agree with Spectre as well. Yeah, I think the problem is a lot of specs are actually, after the recent balance patches, actually really good. But they have some kind of stigma to it. So people did not play it over the last 2 years, 3 years, and they think it's bad. But it got buffed so many times now, like Vindicator, like Spectre, even like Quickness Heal Catalyst, for example, and that kind of stuff. People just don't expect it to be good because it was not the last like 5 years ago or something like that. And then people just don't try it anymore, even though it got buffed so many times now that it's actually a good spec. So that's a big problem that we have right now, that there are a lot of specs that are actually quite good, but not a lot of people play them, even though they are good. That's the sad part. When did the World vs. World Rush event start? It started 3 hours ago. So you still have almost 7 days left, yes. I'm good, Sub. How are you doing? Good day so far. Have fun in World vs. World, even though we don't get that many kills because our team seems to not be that good at the game mode, but at least we have some people there. We have some queue here and looks good. Without dedicated World vs. World guild and alliance, we're getting put in worthless team 99% of the time and really should polish matchmaking system. Yeah, it's really bad. That's the problem. If you are not in a big dedicated World vs. World guild and you want to have big circ fights and win, then you are looking dire, to be honest. I think it's really like you have to find people that are like-minded and have some like big organized World vs. World guild if you want to consistently play World vs. World, especially during those rush events. So yeah, that's just the truth. Guild Wars 2, after all, in World vs. World, yeah, the name is somewhat true. You have to be in a guild to actually find crazy good alliance members. Yeah. Cutter is good. Yeah, Cutter is really good. Cutter is really good in all game modes. Catalyst as a duelist is really good. Catalyst as a support is really good. Catalyst as a damage dealer is really good. It's just really overloaded, the spec. I think in terms of fun and design, I think it's one of the worst specs in the game, but in terms of how broken it is, it's just really, really good. I can highly recommend to play Cutter. I'm glad to hear you say Spectre. I'm starting to get my friends interested in trying it out since I've been playing it, but it's my favorite. Yeah, Spectre is amazing. It is not the most easy spec to learn, but if you are like a thief main and you want to have a challenge and want to carry a group, that's the spec that I would choose. Spectre is insane. It's really, really good, and in all game modes works surprisingly well. It's really good. In some game modes like PvP and like, for example, in support in PvE, I would actually say it's S tier, one of the best builds to play. Medium heat tech, every class already has nearly everything covered and the new elite specs will suffocate one existing one. Yeah, I actually agree with that a lot of specs, maybe with the exception of Paragon, like support for warrior, are not really like filling a niche that is currently not filled. So they will just like fill a niche that is already there and will just push some other spec out. I can see that. But maybe it will be, maybe I'm a little bit too pessimistic there. Maybe it will be like there is a reason to play, for example, the new Revenant spec gets Alacrity. Yeah. And currently you can't play, for example, Alacrity DPS Vindicator. That just doesn't work. The DPS is too low and you can only play healer or you can go full DPS. So maybe we will get that with the next spec. The same goes for Druid. Maybe Druid is either full damage or full healer. Maybe we get an Alacrity, how is it called? The gaze, how is it called? That we get the next one. I have already forgot the name. The 4 Ranger. And this one will get maybe Alacrity and could play Alacrity DPS. So I can see some specs that actually get some kind of niche that we don't have right now. But I'm with you, Snowdrop. I think there are a lot of issues, for example, for Mesmer. I think Mesmer has like every single role covered at least once. And I really see that there is there is a big problem for filling a niche for Mesmer that is not already filled. So yeah, we will see. We will see. Maybe ANET can pull off a miracle. I'm playing my healer like Spectre off and on, and people are surprised how much utility you can provide. Yeah, I think healers, especially Spectre, Chronomancer, Scourge, they all have crazy good utility nowadays as well. It's just really good right now. It's Spectre in particular got buffed so much. It's just a really good support. Yeah. Fogfire outfit and the channel emote are both nice. Made me release the tight grip on my gems. Yeah, I think they actually this week's gem store is actually surprisingly like decent. You know, it is like giving us new items that look good and like a cool emote. We get 20% off on the cool like salvage kits, so it's really nice time to buy them if you don't have them, and we get 20% off of equipment and build templates if you want to go for that. It's actually a really good time to actually invest some gems or use the ones that you actually got from, for example, pre-ordering the Ultimate Edition. So yeah, good deal there. What do you think has the most fun spec design or top 3? So I think from a design perspective, I think Mirage is really fun. I think Mirage is one of the most fun design specs because it is altering the dodge mechanic, which is by nature broken. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely broken. But I like the design of it, that you have to choose between going offensive and using your dodge for getting access to your ambush, or playing defensive to use your dodge and evade. So I think that's really cool. I think that's a really nice and interesting design. But it's just very broken by design. What else is very fun? I really like Reaper. Reaper is just a very basic Necromancer spec, but I really think the melee, hard-hitting melee skills in the Shroud, it's just fun. I like that design. And what would be the last one that I like? Let me think. Weaver. I think the last one has to be Weaver. I think Weaver is the most unique spec in the whole game. I think that's so cool. Sadly, it's not as good in all game modes. It's playable, don't get me wrong, but it's not broken. So I think Weaver is probably also in my top 3 best elite spec design-wise. Because it's just so unique, you know, having so many different skills and so much skill put into it. You know, it's way harder to play than a normal elementalist in like competitive modes. And I think that makes the spec very interesting. Such a high skill like ceiling. It's really cool. I like it. That would be my top 3, I would say. If you would have to choose one spec to play as self-sustain, group sustain as a melee, if possible 2 hammer or a greatsword or something like that, maybe spear, what would you choose? I would probably choose Alacrity Heal Willbender. That's surprising how good that one is. You play hammer and you spam the auto attack and it's really, really strong. It's really good. It's really, really good. I would choose that one. Is Celestial Necro good in World vs. World? Yes, you can play Celestial Harbinger, Celestial Reaper. Those are really, really good. Yeah. Can recommend that. Really wish they'd pushed the Alacrity off of Vindicator. We've been here, done that with Mirage, and it has been super polarizing for people. Yeah, I think they just wanted to put Vindicator, heal Vindicator in PvE. That's really the thing that they wanted to do. And I would say it's still not like crazy. Like, I would not say that's an S tier support right now. So I really think maybe just give the new elite spec Alacrity and say Vindicator, just that's a DPS spec. It's not a support. But at least in PvE. But I don't know. Maybe they just want to push support on every single elite spec at some point. I don't like that design, but if they want to do it, you know, they are after all the developers of the game. That's just how it goes. Anything that is really good for new player focused on PvE? I mean, every single build works. Every single elite spec is really good in PvE. Tell me your class that you want to play and I can tell you one build or one spec that is really good on that. I can't tell you in general which one is the best. All of them work really well. Just have to find the correct spot for your gameplay. Can you show people can find guilds what play World vs. World and explain that PvE builds are not working in World vs. World because for every game modes there are builds? Yeah, I would say World vs. I think that's one of the most important things is to understand that Guild Wars 2 is not, you can't play one build and expect it to be perfect for every single situation that you encounter. So if you want to get into World vs. World, you probably should inform yourself how to play your specific build or your class that you want to actually play there. I would not recommend to play any build that you play in PvE or PvP and just copy paste it and play it in World vs. World as well. You can try it, of course, it's your choice, but I would not recommend it. So typically just check out meta battles like any website or check out my YouTube channel. I have a lot of guides there as well, but I would not recommend playing any PvE builds in World vs. World. That's just not gonna work. That's just not gonna work. Let's see, hopefully we... Oh my god, the skill lag is crazy. I was pressing like 7 times the button, but nothing happened. Crazy. I mean, hopefully we can now finally get some kills and some wins here and not only getting farmed all the time. Let's see. Yeah, Viva is really fun. I really hope that Viva gets some love in the next expansion. Maybe we get some nice, I don't know, some rework. Maybe we just get some... I would also be happy with some stats that would actually help Viva out. I really don't know what it would like, what would help that happen, but I don't know. It's just take everything at this point, you know, just something that is fun. Is there a spec I could look at somewhere? What exactly do you mean by that? So I have a guide on my YouTube channel about the low intensity Willbender with hammer where you just spam the auto attack and stuff. That's really good. You can just check it out on my YouTube channel. You can type !builds in the Twitch chat if you're on Twitch. And you can then, and if you're on YouTube, you can just scroll down in the description of the stream and you will see where all my builds are. And you can find the one that you are looking for your class, for your elite spec, for your game mode. I have a lot of build guides on my YouTube channel and I keep them updated as well. Heal Vindicator is really good in World vs. World. That is right. Heal Vindicator is amazing there. But I think for competitive modes, I think you have to look at it differently. I think Vindicator was almost, since release of it, a really good support in competitive modes. Or at least in World vs. World. But in PvE, it never got the Alacrity. And now it is not a good support anymore in PvE. It's a decent support, but it's not crazy good because it's just outclassed by any other elite spec that provides Alacrity, I would say, and is a healer. So I would say in competitive modes it's really nice to play, but in PvE there is a big gap and I think they should just say, nah, we don't give it Alacrity or we just don't want to have it as a healer, and that's fine, and just give the other elite spec that we will get with the next expansion will be the one that actually provides enough just value for a healer, and then that's the heal spec and not the Vindicator. I really hope that's their decision, but yeah, it doesn't look like it. I think they want to push and give us as stick players, every single elite spec has to have at least one support option on there. I think that's not healthy. I don't like that design, but I think that's what they're pushing right now. If that's the case, then maybe we get some Dragon Hunter, some buffs as a support. Maybe we get, I don't know, we could got like even Holosmith support or some Soul Beast support. That could happen. I don't like it. I think the uniqueness of each class and don't forcing supports is for me way better, but apparently that's not necessarily what they think. Give Weaver better self boons and it's a perfect class. Yeah, I think it's not too hard to fix Weaver. I think it's just right now, it just gets overshadowed by almost anything that you could play on Elementalist. You know, Tempest is crazy in all game modes, but especially in PvE, and Catalyst is absolutely absurd in all game modes. So why would you ever pick a Weaver if you're not like absolutely insane or absolutely in love with the spec? Because Catalyst and Tempest are just better, just like objectively. And that's a big problem. That's just a big problem. So I really hope that they just give some uniqueness, maybe self-boon buffing, maybe just some more sustain, whatever. Maybe even more damage, I don't care. Just something special, unique to Weaver that you would pick this class. I don't know about PvE, just play World vs. World. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that if you just play World vs. World, Curious, then of course I'm with you. Then it's like a really good spec to play as a support. And I think that has been like almost like since release of Vindicator the case, which is completely fine. I think you don't have to have like all the specs being crazy in all game modes, but apparently that's what they are pushing towards. And I think that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying I don't like it if you have like all the specs being like almost feeling like the same, just in a different color. I want to have like a support that is really good at one thing and another support that's really good at another thing. And I think currently in PvE, they are pushing like to supports being like all of them feeling like exactly the same, just in different color. But that's just my like veteran perspective. Maybe new players have a completely different perspective. And after all, new players are probably the majority of the gamers. So yeah, we will see. Vindicator had that crazy PvE moment when you could give 66% boon extension. Yeah, that was insane when they had that. But then they removed it and then it was like completely gone. No one played it anymore. But the boon extension was a really fun thing. I agree. That was a really cool moment. Heal Elect Vindicator is probably the best healer I've had in Harvest Tempest CM though. Projectile destruction from bubble is too good. That is exactly what I mean. I think that's how every single healer should be. That you should have one scenario where this is like the best healer. And if you have like 10 encounters and in each of them is one of the healers the best, that would be amazing. But I think right now Healing Vindicator is only being played in Harvest Tempest CM as a main healer. And I think that's not like where you want to be. You don't want to be in one specific challenge mode where you take this. I think that's not like the thing that you want to have as a balanced team. But I can see that this is now a spot where Vindicator will stay for the next years, to be honest. Exactly, it has a niche and that's good. Better than other healers, for sure. Yeah, for sure. But I think it's not, in my opinion, it's not healthy to push like all the healers being like very homogenized. I don't like that design. I want to have unique specs that are useful in some situations, in another there's another one that is actually better. I really hope that that is what they're also aiming for. What do you prefer for World vs. World, Roaming and Zerg, Necro or Thief? I would say for both. I would actually go heavily for Necromancer. I think Necromancer is amazing. But if you want to play like only one spec, I think Spectre is probably the best right now for both of those like game modes. Spectre is amazing for Zerg and Roaming. But I personally would go Necromancer if you want to play all the elite specs or want to play multiple different builds. It's probably the choice that I would make. Yes, I did get a new haircut. It's my, summer look, summer look. Little bit less hair, so hopefully less sweating. But right now it already feels quite warm here. So yeah, what can I say? Just looking old with this haircut, apparently. People in chat noticed that I'm like looking like 50 or something. Hopefully not that bad, but yeah. Playing Guild Wars 2 now as a new returning player, and your guides helped a lot trying to get to Mechanist, but playing Engineer for this is so daunting. No pet until 80. Yeah, don't worry, you will get there, and then it gets very easy. Mechanist is very strong in PvE right now. You can play power, condi, support, everything works, and it's a really good spec. So I can highly recommend to play it, and you will have a lot of fun then with this one, for sure. I've had a hard time approaching Elementalist. I plan to eventually get into Viva, but I've been really enjoying it. Fresh Air Power Tempest. Yeah, I think Viva is something that I would say most players that play Elementalist would like to play at some point, but it's not the easiest spec to play. So just have fun. If you enjoy playing Viva, go for it. But if you don't, because it's too challenging, stick to Tempest or Catalyst. You don't have to play the hardest to play build if you don't want to. That's the really nice thing about Guild Wars 2. You have so many subclasses, especially with the next expansion, that you don't really need to play all of them. You can just play the ones that you actually enjoy, and you will still have a really good coverage of everything. So really nice. When they took away pull from Scourge F3, it really hit hard. Yeah, I agree. I think that was like, or I think it was Scourge F4, but still, it was really the transfusion change that was like pulling people. That was like my biggest reason why I would take Scourge in a support way in PvE. And ever since then, I typically did not really pick Scourge that much, just to showcase how good like transfusion now can be as a healer. But I think this downstack resurrection power that we had, even in competitive modes, that was insane and very unique and very fun to play, and they took it away. And I'm a little bit sad about that. I think this is the uniqueness that I would love to see in the future for other specs, and not take it away. I think taking it away is just feeling very boring to me. Exactly. Homogenization has to stop. I agree with you there, Shadow. And we get back to the theme's functionality, so people can fall in love with their classes and version of what role they do. Exactly. I really hope that we have like unique classes that are fun to play and not always broken in every single scenario, but they are somewhat cool in a specific scenario, like the Scourge, pulling downstat people if you have a lot of downstats, which is completely useless if you are fighting with players that actually don't go downstat. So I think that's really cool. It's a unique thing. But they removed it, and I really hope we get stuff like that back, or at least make it so that it's a little bit more unique how the class feels, and not like every healer has to provide every boon and heals and have CC, and then that's the healer. Because then it's just like Necromancer is green, Druid is a brighter green, and then you have Mesmer being pink, and they still feel somewhat the same. I don't like that design. I want to have one class being like really good at one thing, and for example, I want to take the Vindicator for projectile destruction. I want to take the Heal Scourge for barrier and downstat resurrection. I want to take the Mesmer if I want to take a lot of stability and Aegis. Stuff like that is a really cool design. I really hope they bring that more into focus. Harbinger for roaming and Power Reaper for Zerg? Exactly. That's how I would play it actually for Necromancer, I agree. Harbinger is amazing for roaming, probably one of the best roaming specs. And if you want to play in Zergs, I think either Scourge as a support or Reaper for DPS is really, really good. Welcome, Beowulf, welcome. Yeah, exactly, the rocking summer groove. Yes, 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 exactly. That's what I'm going for. Shave it, brother. Yeah, I mean, that I listened, a lot of people actually recommend it. Maybe I have to do that next time, you know, just for to actually, or maybe we make that a sub goal, you know. If you hit enough subs, then I will just shave my head, you know. That's what's gonna happen. Yeah, maybe we have to do that. If you asked enough for it, we will do it. Do you have a Weaver build for open world that you can share? Not yet. I will try to find one and like release a video about it, because that's like, I think, the only open world elite spec that I don't have a build about it yet. So I will try to come up with one. Don't worry, will come out soonish. I will try to get it done. I mean, Guild Wars 3, yeah, what can I say? Guild Wars 3 is like, yeah, we talk about it too often on stream, so I will not like mention it like my prediction or what happens there all the time, but maybe, but it will take years. It will take years. The downstate support is such a nice flavor. Win for Necromancer. Yeah, it makes so much sense, you know, it's just so perfect. Sadly, they took it away, you know. That was so amazing, you know, you control life and death and therefore can resurrect allies. That's just so good. It's such a nice flavor. But it's not too big. It's still good at it, don't get me wrong. It's just not very unique, you know. You could play Elementalist and you have similar resurrection power actually, so. Any thoughts on the current state of Warhorn as a weapon? I think Warhorn on a Necromancer is really good. Warhorn on Druid or in general Ranger is really good. I think Warhorn on Warrior is really good as a support. I think Warhorn is in a really good spot as an offhand weapon. I think it looks way better than, for example, Shield. I think Shield is in a really weak spot. I think Torch is in a weak spot because only like 1 or 2 classes use those offhands, whereas Warhorn is like used on all classes actually. There is no Warhorn user that doesn't use Warhorn in scenarios. That Warhorn is like, if you would summarize it, it's really a good spot. Condi Weaver works really well in PvE. You can go full Trailblazer. Yeah, I think Weaver is really good. I think Weaver is really underrated how good it is. I'm just saying it's not very unique. That's the thing. It's not unique in a sense that I would say you play Weaver and you fill a very unique role. Weaver is just a DPS build, and I really would like to see some uniqueness given to it, because some DPS builds, like for example Condi Virtuoso, is one of the safest ranged Condi builds for progression groups because it has so much invulnerability, good self-sustain, crazy range. That's just a really unique build. And I would like to see like a lot of DPS builds getting a similar treatment, that you would say, okay, this is a DPS build that is good in this situation because it has X. And then you have another DPS build that is similar DPS but is better in another situation because it's a specific thing Y. I really would like to see stuff like that. Really hope we will get that. Thanks for all the follows, by the way. Really appreciate it. I'm good. So, which build are good to fight against Katas and World vs. World roaming? Something that is quite bursty, you know? I would say Katas struggle against bursty stuff. So if you're fighting against a really good Thief, a really good Willbender, really good Power Harbinger, stuff like that can be really like your downfall because you can't deal with big bursts because you're still a light armor class. You're still quite squishy on Catalyst. But I think there is no real crazy good counter to Catalyst. Catalyst is always a decent pick. So it's a really good roamer right now. Welcome, Arthur. Welcome. Yeah, I think the community is quite split about Guild Wars 3. So we will see if ArenaNet is really working on it or if it's some kind of other unannounced project in the background or whatever is happening. But I would say there is a big part of the community that is not that happy about it. I think either way, it would be the best decision, whatever unannounced project they are doing in the background. I really hope that they will continue like developing Guild Wars 2, whatever it is, so that we actually get this game, the new one, and playing Guild Wars 2 at the same time, so that whatever part of the community you are in, like for or against the new game, you will still have a game to play. I really hope that's what they do. But we will see. How is support Druid in World vs. World? It's a good support. I would say it's not the best support, but it's definitely A tier, maybe even S tier for some people. It's a really decent supporter right now. It's played as a full support, just very similar to PvE. And you will actually succeed in a lot of situations because you have really good cleanses, you have good ranged healing, just all around good healing. The might output or the general boon output is not as good as other healers, but if you want to play a support, that's really a good one. Yeah. Tempest Rebound does necro-themed healer things, then everything in Necro's kit. Yeah, I think Tempest is really good as a healer right now. I think a lot of people are sleeping on it. I think Tempest is like, I would highly recommend if you want to play a support type of like mage, Tempest is insane right now. It's really good in all game modes as a support, in PvP, in World vs. World, in PvE of course as well. It's just really flexible, really strong. The only thing that is a little bit like struggling is like having stability on demand with a lot of stacks. But that's so specific that in most scenarios it's not that important. Honestly, the transfusion change was one of the best changes they ever did. Fuck downstat, res and pull. That shit actively made casual players worse in all instances. Ooh, that's a hot take. You know, that's a hot take. But I would say the change in general is really good. I didn't just said that it was removed that you could trade transfusion. I think it should be a choice. Like, for example, it should be that I have to make the choice between this trade and this trade. And one of them would be transfusion and the other one would be the healing trade, that you actually get staff heals. So that you have to make the choice and actively say, I have to change my build, my playstyle, and say, I make it worse in like general gameplay, but I can resurrect like crazy. I think that would be amazing, you know, that you have to decide when to play it. That's, in my opinion, really good trade design. But to remove a trait that you would take on a support because it has good resurrection power, to give it a better support in general, is, in my opinion, the wrong decision. I think that was like, I think the transfusion change was good. It was just not in the right trait spot. That's my take. Yeah. I just wanted to ask which healer builds right now has the highest healing output. That would probably be Healing Mirage. Healing Mirage has probably the highest healing output right now. It's like you spam your ambush on rival, it's like insane healing output. It's really, really good. If you want to have passive heals without spamming attacks, then you have to go with Herald. Herald is also quite good. Just for the passive regen and just passive procs. But if you want to play actively, then Heal Mirage is the best one. Yeah, I mean, I could see that, Sato. I could see that for sure. But I don't know anything for sure, so I can't give you any details. Yeah. Which DPS builds are great to play in World vs. World? So I would say there are like 5 or so. So I would say you could play some backline Tempest, a backline Weaver, backline Catalyst. So really like the classical Fire Mage fantasy, casting Meteor Shower and stuff. That can work. But I would say for most players, I would recommend going for really DPS builds like Hodosmith, like Reaper, like maybe even some kind of Dragon Hunter. You can go for Warrior as a DPS spec. That works well. And what else can you go for? You could go for Mirage or Virtuoso. So there are a lot of options for DPS specs. Not all of them shine in every situation, but if you have an organized squad, you can actually pull all of them off. Yeah. So the ones that I mentioned are typical DPS builds in roaming. Oh, in Zerg play. Yeah. Do you think it would be a good time to have some training mode location for supports to make them more accessible? I think in general, not only for supports, but in general, they should make more tutorials, starter kits, some helps for people to get into the specific game mode, into their role, into the like whatever they want to play. I think Guild Wars 2 severely lacks tutorials. I really hope that we get more tutorials in the future for any game mode. It doesn't matter which one, just any game mode. I really hope we get more like new player experience so that new players actually have an easier time to get into competitive modes, get into fractals, get into raids, because it's not too hard to learn that. It's just nothing in the game really teaches you how it works. And that's, in my opinion, a big problem. You want to actually teach people to get into the game modes because then they will try them out. If they are just like completely like overwhelmed by what actually you have to do because they don't know anything about the game mode, that's not good. So giving us more tutorials, obviously not for me, but for someone that actually gets into the game, that would be amazing. So I really hope they will put that out with some kind of core feature update to give us more like just better, yeah, just like new player experience. That's the name of the game, I would say. Really hope so. Welcome, Iron Fire. Welcome. Who wasted about 700 skirmish tickets today because he was too dumb to buy Precursor properly? Oh no. I mean, now it's a good time to farm those tickets because of the World vs. World Rush event. But yeah, not good. Not good. I feel you. And now let's get farmed for the, like, oh my god, the legs. For the 700th time from this, guys. No. But in this specific instance, you already have downstat. Why do we need a safety net for safety net? Yeah, I agree. I agree that this is not a healthy way to make players learn how to play, for example, Bone Skinner, if you always get resurrected because your support carries you. But I think the design of it was amazing. It was just really fun. But I agree that this is like a really, it's a noob trap that you can carry as if you play Heal Squatch. Before the transfusion changes, that you could, for example, resurrect all players in Bone Skinner. They will not understand what killed them or don't need to understand it because the support can always carry them. So I totally get that point. I'm just saying now it's already done. That's their decision. I think they could have done that decision way better. even without having like the resurrection power on transfusion. You know, you don't have to have the pull. I think the pull is the thing that was carrying. Not that you have so much resurrection power. I think that it was okay to have on transfusion. But I get your point, Snowdrop, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it could be true that they could just make, for challenge modes, disable downstate, I guess. But that would also be a little bit sad, because that's some kind of unique feature of Guild Wars 2, that you have downstate, that you can, for example, recover from it. But I could see that, for example, at least in the legendary challenge mode, that you don't have access to downstate. Or maybe even challenge modes and stuff, that this is the same stuff. Maybe, that would be, I would like that personally, but I can see that would also be like a big no-no for a lot of new players. Downstate is, after all, the thing where a lot of people get rest after they died, and then they try again. If everyone dies all the time and you can't resurrect them, then they will be dead like almost all the time. So yeah, there is always a positive and a negative. That's just how it goes, I guess. I meant it more in a way that you can train DPS solo on a golem, but for support you need to practice in a group, and people might stay away from support because of anxiety of failing while learning and affecting players. Yeah, I think that's a big problem, that there is this training area with the golem, but you can only really train your healing output. You can't really train your boon that well. You can train your boon output on yourself, but you can't really train it on your support or on your, what's it called? On your allies. So that's obviously not the nicest thing, but I'm happy that we have the golem area. You know, that was not a given. So I'm really happy that we have that, because it was like, it was a little bit annoying when it first raids came out. We didn't have the training area. That was like not the nicest thing back then, to actually check your DPS and stuff. With Guild Wars 2, the UI is awful. I always have hard time trying to understand what's going on. The small little boxes above the skill bar or below the enemy. Yeah, I think that's the UI. That's one of the features that I mention all the time. I think a customizable UI, making it better, moving the stuff, the skills, maybe making the boom bar like more in the middle of your screen, stuff like that. That would be something that would be amazing as a like core feature update. But I'm not sure if they can do it, or can do it in a reasonable time frame, because they haven't done it yet. And I think it's so important to actually make that happen. Oh my god, what is this Condi damage? What? Just died to 7 torment. What? Crazy. Yeah. So hopefully we get that at some point, customizable UI. But right now, I don't know. It will take at least a few months to the core feature update. And then I don't even know if we will get it, to be honest. I'm hoping for it, for sure. Welcome, Alpha. I'm looking for builds that are good for roaming and Zergs, so that both builds are on one class, so I can switch up without locking. So I would say, like we mentioned earlier, I think, for example, Harbinger for roaming is really good, and then you play Reaper in a Zerg. That's like really like a good combination. What else can you play? For example, you could play Catalyst. You can play a heal Catalyst like I'm doing for Zerg, and you could play some kind of dagger Catalyst or something like that for roaming, or Signet Catalyst if you even wanted to. So there are actually options. So just tell me the class that you want to have an option, and I can tell you the elite specs that you can play there, because every class has like stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, healers in Guild Wars 2 and PvE specifically are insane how much value they have. It's crazy. They are so insane in terms of healing and boon output and stuff. So it's like, if you play a support with the real like gear and the best like build that you can have for this class, then typically just spamming the skills that give boons is like giving you like 170% uptime. And then that means that you can like spam them like every now and then, and you will keep the boons up. It's like really crazy. Some classes are better than others, but it's like a lot of supports in Guild Wars 2 are like just spam the skills, and you don't even have to follow any rotation, and you will typically upkeep the boons. So it's really good. So for Guardians, I would say Willbender for roaming is really good, and Firebrand for the Zerg gameplay is also my choice. But I would say Firebrand, what can I say? Well, it is the best like long-term support for Zergs, and I would say that will never change, probably. So just going for Willbender for roaming and going for Firebrand for Zerg as a support is really, really good. Yeah, exactly like Black Magic points out. Maybe even the H if you want to play DPS in a Zerg, that's true that you can play that as well. I just think a lot of times you miss a support spot or stability providing spot, and Firebrand is perfect for that. If you would choose one build that could do some solos as well as without being completely, you can only heal like a Willbender build with Hammer. So you want to play a solo build that is also able to be played in a group. Then I would recommend, typically I would recommend my Tempest. I have a Tempest build that is playing Celestial Tempest on my YouTube channel. I actually have 2 builds and they are quite similar, and you can play a Celestial Tempest and it's really good at healing and providing alacrity for either only itself, or if you go in a group, it will also help the group as a healer and alacrity provider. So you can check that build out. Sorry that I misunderstood your question at the first time. Nice that I can help, Commander. Really nice. I was just maining Ranger and now I'm not afraid of playing any class. Perfect. That's what we want to hear. Just try out new classes. You will have a lot of fun. Way more fun, in my opinion, than playing just one class in Guild Wars 2. So I would say the Willbender build that is not really good in solo play. It's like really focused on healing. Yeah. So I would recommend the Celestial Elementalist build that I just released like last week or something. That's really good for solo play and for group play. So, big issue when playing DPS Dragon Hunter is Commander saying, guys, we need more stability. Exactly. If you play any Guardian spec that is not Firebrand in an organized squad, they always want you to play Firebrand because that's like the thing that provides more stability. So I would, like, if you don't want to play support, then I would not play Guardian because that's quite likely the thing that you get like requested to do. So just one note there. Support tanky Dragon Hunter also exists. Yeah, I think it's actually not bad, but I think the problem is that Firebrand in the Western meta is very like the pillar of organized squads because it provides so much stability. And that's not something that Dragon Hunter can do that easily. Yes, it has crazy blocks, but you have to have multiple of those to actually get the block uptime. Only then you have like overlapping blocks and it's actually good. But if you only have one, it doesn't make that much difference. For Firebrand, that's not that's not true. You can still play one Firebrand and it provides stability to its subgroup. So I see your point, Filthy. I'm just saying in Western meta, typically you want to have multiple different specs. If you could remove alacrity, would you? Yes. Yes. I would remove alacrity and quickness. I think they should be like temporary buffs that you like get for like 2 seconds or something. That you have a burst window, probably remove alacrity at all, completely, and quickness only a temporary buff that you can only get for 2 seconds so that you can say, okay, now we have a burst phase. Now I want to really dedicate all my DPS and get that out in like the next 2 seconds. It should not be a permanent buff. And even the developers actually agreed to this, that if they could go back in time, they would go back and remove alacrity and quickness as a permanent boon. But now it's too late, they can't do that anymore. So yeah, that's how times change, I would say. I would say typically on Celestial builds you play Condi, so I would recommend playing Scepter there on this build, on Elementalist that I just mentioned. But you could play Hammer as well if you really wanted to. Spear is not recommended, it's a clear power weapon, you don't want to play a power weapon on Celestial. Can a Firebrand work in open world? Yes. I have a solo Firebrand build. It is, I would say, really good. It's not S tier in my opinion as a solo build, but it's really good, really like self-sustaining, has good utility. Nice build. Yeah, it's not the easiest, but nice build for sure. Going back from alacrity quickness to class unique buffs would probably be an ideal state. Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is back then they removed unique class buffs and gave us permanent alacrity and quickness on all classes. So they made the complete opposite. But I would say in a healthy environment, you're giving us unique class buffs that, for example, give us a specific short amount of time window. We get a nice buff that improves our DPS, but only shortly, not permanently. while also removing quickness and alacrity. That would be ideal, but they can't go back to that. It's just impossible for them. That would change the game so much that like half of the player base in PvE would leave. Just straight up. And that's not what we want. Yet, of course, they can do it. I'm just saying it's a lot of work and it's quite likely alienating a lot of the player base, which is also not something you want to do as a developer. As a returning player, do you think it's worth level 80 boosting an Elementalist? I would say so, yeah. If you already have a class at level 80, another one, then using the level 80 boost to boost any class and just have fun with it in World vs. World, sure, go for it. I would say that's always a good idea, just getting a different experience on the specific part of the game, sure. I would not say that is like, I would not recommend boosting your first character. So if any new players are here in chat and you just purchased the expansion and you got a new level 80 boost, don't use that on your first character. I think the first character you should level the normal way so that you actually experience the game how it is supposed to be experienced, that you slowly learn and not get like everything in your face after pressing this button to level 80, because then you are just overwhelmed and maybe will say, oh, I don't understand anything, I will quit this game. So do it slowly the first time. The next characters you can do fast. That's my tip as a veteran. And I think most new players and veterans would actually agree to this statement. As someone that boosted my Elementalist and had trouble learning it, I would recommend against it. I think it depends on the player. If you had trouble with it, doesn't mean that anyone else will also have the problem, but I can understand why you would say that, because Elementalist is obviously a class that is not too easy to get into. But I think if you want to play it and you want to have fun, just go for it. Don't like give up. You will learn it at some point, even if it's a little bit more challenging to start out with. So I can highly recommend just trying new stuff in Guild Wars 2. That's like the best thing that you can do to keep you interested in the game. Any good SPVP builds for Spear or Elementalist? Yeah, you can play Spear Catalyst. That's a really good build. Does good damage, has good sustain. It's a little bit squishy if you want to like really fight with it in high-end PvP. But if you are just playing ranked and just want to have fun, it's a really good build. Spear Catalyst, yes. What if they put it to a vote? I think that's not a healthy way to do it. I think personally, you should not like do democratic decisions in PC games. That might be a really hot take, but I think the developers are after all the developers. They can decide in which direction of the game they want to go. If the big part of the community doesn't agree with it, they will lose probably a big chunk of the community. That's their mistake then. I think for them, oh, I actually got the full rush event already. Nice, after like 2 hours of playing, that's good. So I think the developers should decide where to go. They can ask for our opinion and our feedback, for sure. They should not always listen to it though. I think there are a lot of loud people in the forums that have opinions that are not like mirroring most of the player base. And just because some people tell them that Warrior is really bad and you should not play it and they should buff it, doesn't mean that they need to do that, for example. So I think it's like really important that the developers understand the game, what they're actually developing, and they make the decision for the game. Does that mean that's always the right one? No, but that's after all their job. I don't want to like judge what actually is going on if I don't have all the information. It depends on which half leaves. I mean, I think that might be a hot take again, but I personally think every single player that leaves the game is a player that we lose. And that's a player that we should not have lost. Yes, there might be some toxic players and we are happy to lose, but there are only so many few bad apples in the game. Yeah, so I would actually love to lose less players than like just losing like a big chunk of the player base, even if it's not the most like healthy player base. I think it's important that we keep as many players as we can while getting more fresh blood with new players in the game. That would be the ideal way. Let's see if the next expansion actually can do that. If we get new players in the game because it looks cool, and we keep the veterans because of the lead specs, because of the raids, strike mission, whatever we get. So hopefully that will achieve both. That is my big hope. That's my big hope. How's the quick DPS boon chrono this time of year in PvE open world? It's really good. It's really flexible, good DPS, just really good build overall. I would say definitely an S tier boon support. Highly recommend to play it if you like Chronomancer. Really good spec currently. What build you using? I'm currently using the support catalyst. I will do a build guide about it very soon. It's just very supportive, earth, water, and just minstrel gear. Really safe, really nice. A lot of support, a lot of cleanses, a lot of like boons, protection uptime, really nice. Just really supportive for Zerg play. You would not use that in a solo build or something like that for roaming. I'm gonna play World vs. World for the first time, and is there a good Thief Spear build for World vs. World? I think you can play Spear with Daredevil, or even you could play Spear on all Thieves. It's not like the most common build, but I actually played against some of them in a 1-on-1, and they're actually really challenging to kill if they play it well, because they have so many good skills on the Spear kit. So I would probably go for Daredevil, but every single Spear build can work if you just know how to play Spear. Spear is not the easiest weapon, or it's probably the hardest weapon in the entire game. Not only on Thief, on the entire game. But if you like it, sure, go for it, practice it, and you will actually succeed. A community vote requires a minimum level of actual engagement of the community with the game, which isn't a given for over half of the community, which means every vote will favor the least path of resistance. Yeah, I'm personally not a big fan of votes. I think it should be something like the beta events, where we give feedback and they can listen to it or they can ignore it. Making a vote would like give us the mindset of saying, oh, they will actually use that vote to make their decision. But I think that is not a healthy way of doing it. They should, like getting influenced, use it as advice, but they should not be forced to use it. So I really hope that they will listen to our feedback from the upcoming beta event for the elite specs, but they should not make it like the only thing that matters. So if someone says Antiquatory is really bad, we need to have a different class, and then they say, okay, we will completely rework it. They should listen to their own like goals and what they thought about it, and then make their decisions based on that and help with the feedback that we give them. What's best gear for support Firebrand? So in PvE, I would say for all game modes, for if you play support, Minstrel is really good for Firebrand. It's a really good spec with Minstrel. It just makes a lot of sense. If you play it in Fractals and if you want to contribute a little bit of DPS, then you would go with Celestial, but that's a very niche case. I would say this is not something that I would recommend like 90% of the player base to actually play, because Celestial Firebrand is even harder than the normal Firebrand to actually perform well on, because you have to decide if you want to heal or deal DPS. Not the easiest decision in some fights. Yeah, the skill lag is real. It's like, the queues are really like, they are popping in. A lot of people are here. Sometimes you have like 150 players on one spot. Yeah, there is some lag going on. Died like a dozen times today because skill didn't trigger. Yeah, that's why I play support, ranged support, so that I don't die while talking and reading chat. That's like the worst. If you also have like some kind of rubber banding or some kind of like skill lag, then better play it safe, play something tampy. What 3 specs do you think they are going to show? So we know already what kind of specs they are going to show tomorrow. We will see Troubadour, so the Mesmer one. We will see the Antiquary, which is the Thief one, and we see the Elementalist one, which is the Evoker one, So those 3 we will see tomorrow in the preview, and we will see in the showcase on Friday as well. That's already like a given. And then the next one, we don't know. Probably it will be the Luminary and I always forget something with Gale. The one for Ranger. Those 2 will probably be in the next one. So we will see which one is the last of those in the next like triple. But I'm excited anyway. I'm always excited for new elite specs. So what's the best build for Berserker in World vs. World? So if you're roaming, I would say the best Berserker build is right now Skull Grinder. So you play a Condi Berserker. If you play in a Zerg, you would play some kind of Berserker. Sorry for the pun here, but that's just how you play it. It's really good. Oh my god, the skill lag. I'm barely getting any skills. Oh, do we get kills? Do we get something here? Nah. That's like the 8th time or something that we lose against those bad guys. So sad. Nothing to do here. Yeah, so I think Berserker or something like that. Maybe Marauder Berserker. That's what you would play. So you play very aggressive as a DPS. That's typically what you would play in a Circ. Welcome, Gecoming, welcome. What weapon should I play for Reaper in World vs. World? Then don't have Soto? I think you play then probably like Greatsword and maybe Axe, maybe Spear, something like that, if you don't have Soto. Those would probably be my top choices. Yeah. Gale Shot, that's the name. I knew there was some Gale in there. Yeah. I mean, it's not really like telling that much, you know, it's like Gale, yeah, okay, we saw some wings, that makes sense. And Shot, you know, wow, it was a bow, so I think that makes sense. What exactly would I expect for Ranger? I have no clue. The same goes for Luminary. I don't know, you know, it's a Guardian spec, it uses some kind of light. Yes, that makes sense, that's why it's Luminary, but it could be anything, to be honest. It's not as saying as, for example, the Evoker, where you say, okay, this one is definitely some kind of summoner or something. But we will see. I'm excited for the previews, and we have the next 3 weeks some big previews coming up. And of course, I will cover it in the videos as well and give you my take on it. What is Guild Wars 2 Star Child class-wise that is best in all game modes and OP? I would say right now it is Mesmer, but before, like 2 years ago or something, it was like for 10 years straight, it was Guardian. So I think Guardian is still a very good spec if you like Guardian. From the design perspective, I think you will be on the safe side. It will always be a really good pick in like 90% of the cases. Mesmer is right now, I would say, slightly better in all game modes. But that might change in the future. We will see. Maybe the Luminary is broken. Maybe Troubadour is shit. We will see. But they are so good because they have always so much flexibility in their core kit, and they will not nerf the core kit. So typically it will still be completely strong after the next balance patch and stuff, so you will be on the safe side with either one of those. Welcome Alpha, welcome. Random question, but lately I've been playing ranked PvP and I find myself losing quite a lot. For example, I just lost 8 matches in a row. Is this a normal thing in Guild Wars 2 PvP? I play Harbinger Condi, I believe I can always improve, of course, but losing 8 matches in a row seems off. So, 2 things here. First of all, the game mode is very like low populated right now. So sometimes you have like big winning streaks and big losing streaks just because there are not that many players queuing. And sometimes you just get like the matchmaking, so to say, is like really like screwing you over. That just happens. But always understand as well that the mindset also comes with, you know, if you lost already 3 games and you queue again, your mind is like subconsciously making you worse than if you started just playing right now. That's just a fact. So if you're on a losing streak, you play 8 matches in a row, then you have to understand that. But I would say just try to have fun and try to improve and understand what you did wrong to actually get better at it. And then you probably will be fine. I had like big winning streaks and then big losing streaks after that. That's just how the game mode sadly goes because of the low population. Thanks, Katja. Thanks a lot for the cheer. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the bits. Thanks a lot. How's the World vs. World rush for all? Maybe soon queues down when some go to sleep and I will also do some night roaming. Yeah. I think the queues are the biggest problem for a lot of players, but you're right. A lot of people are leaving the queues already. It's like going down slightly. So you will get in at some point, but there might not be that much action left anymore. So that's the problem there. But you will probably like still have some people to play with. So I can see the World vs. World rush being successful for now. So I have fun. Thanks again for the cheer. Yeah, so I would say Condi Harbinger is, if you like it, play it. I think Power Harbinger is way better right now, but both of them are completely fine to be played in ranked. I would say just accept that in PvP, you are like in the hands of the matchmaker, you know? Yes, sometimes you play better, sometimes you play worse, but the matchmaker, sometimes you just like lose the match because of the matchmaking. That's just, you have to accept it, and that means that you at some point like just try to improve, try to get better, and don't really care about the rating that much, because in the end you can't influence it like any other way than just playing better. And the matchmaking is something that you can't influence. Just accept it. That's the thing. The population is too low to have some really competitive, like crazy good rating going. It's just sadly the truth. PvP is really fun. I play it every day, but it is not the most competitive in that sense anymore. Yeah, the lags are a problem. The lags are a problem because there are just so many people playing right now in World vs. World. There are really big skill lags, especially in the big Zerg fights. But I mean, that was like almost since launch the case for Guild Wars 2 World vs. World, so I guess there's that. But yeah, I do my best to ignore it, I would say. I wonder if they ever try around idea of being able to choose 2 elite specs. I think that is like a fun idea, but in theory, that is just already so much balance issues that they will probably never go for it. You know, it's already a big struggle to balance 2 core trade lines and 1 elite spec trade line, that everything is somewhat balanced and not broken. But giving us 2 elite spec trade lines, I think that would completely break the whole game. It's like some of them would not even work together, or most of them actually. So how would a Harbinger and a Reaper that you put together work? What kind of shroud would you get? And even if you would fix that, how would the trades interact with each other? That would just be broken by nature. So I don't see that ever happening. I think that's just like theory. That is not really likely to happen anytime soon. Yeah, no problem here. I think this is the most important part about playing PvP or any competitive game actually, is the mindset. So if I could help you like having a bit more positive mindset, that's all I wanted, you know. After all, you should have fun. It's a game. If you don't have fun, just play another game mode or different class, even something like that. Just try to have fun and try to improve. That's my way of how I play Guild Wars 2. Surely the skill lags will be fixed. World vs. World is a cornerstone game mode after all. Yeah, I actually think they are actually better than at launch. I think at Guild Wars 2 launch, it was actually worse. They did actually some fixes with the DirectX 11 and stuff like that. But I think it was always an issue. If you have big Zerg fights, especially if it's a 3-way fight, so you have 50 versus 50 versus 50, like in EB or something, in like the Stone Mist Castle, there was always lag. There was like no time where you would say there's no lag at all if you have 150 players on one spot. But I think it's not so bad that you can't play it. At least for me right now, it doesn't feel as bad. Yes, sometimes my skills take a while to go off. Yeah, that's how it goes, I guess. Auto attack builds for the win, I guess. Oddly, I've almost never had lag. Maybe like once per year, some small 1 minute. Maybe I'm just lucky. Yeah, sometimes you are lucky and don't have lags. Someone else has lags. That sometimes happens. I didn't expect too much today, but we had a lot of people in chat saying that's really bad right now. So yeah, happens, and you can't change it anyway, you know. Try to make the best out of it. Yeah. I wanna play Chronomancer Virtuoso. Let me crazy combo my blade songs. That would be crazy fun in PvE. Yeah, I mean, that would be really cool, the idea, but I think that's just like, I don't see ever some kind of dual elite specs happening. Like the same goes for dual classing. I think that's just not possible in Guild Wars 2. That's just like completely breaking the game. That has to be like designed from like that from the start up of the game, and that's just not what it was. So I don't really see that ever happening, but it is fun to think about for sure. I can understand that. I think it's way more likely that we get some kind of core utility updates and maybe get something that is also like giving us utility skills, like for example, some kind of, let's say, what is a good example? Like a healing banner on Warrior. Currently, Warrior doesn't have a banner heal, so giving us this is a core healing skill for Warrior, and then every single elite spec and the core class gets value out of that. I think I could see that, because that's way more likely, way less like broken by nature, but it's also way less exciting. Yes, I get that, but yeah, you can't get everything, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there are also some World vs. PvE maps that have like skill lag like World vs. World, that is true, but I actually did not experience it too much, I have to be honest. So maybe we can get the 9th time. Maybe we can now get the bad guys and actually kill them. Looks doable, you know, looks doable. I think we did not win a single Zerg fight this evening. That's just what happens if you have an organized squad against you. And we are not that organized, apparently. Sad. Yeah, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, any feedback, please let me know. And yeah, just let me know your thoughts about the World vs. World Rush. I think it's a really fun event. I'm already done, to be honest. Yeah, I can get to some of the achievements, but they are not giving that much rewards. The main meta achievement is way more important. So I guess that's the biggest thing now. I'm there for the rewards of the like bigger reward track gain. Almost like 1.5 reward tracks already done. So it's quite good. Welcome, Mr. Broken One. Welcome. I found this World vs. World Rush event crazy good. I got 2.5 reward tracks done with 1.5 hours minutes. Yeah, exactly. 1.5 hours is like if you do the achievement, you get like 1.5 reward tracks. And then if you wait, like typically I think the buff, and if you have all the reward track gain buffs, you can get just by being in the maps without doing any achievements, you can get the reward track, a full reward track in 3 hours and 20 minutes or something. And if you then get the achievements on top of that, you get like in this 3 hours and 20 minutes, you get like 2.5 reward tracks, which is obviously insane. So you can craft over 2 legendaries out of the Gift of Battles if you want to go for them. Really nice. Really nice for players that don't like World vs. World too much and still want to get the loot out of it. Yeah, really good. Highly recommend. And I think it's fun, you know. I liked World vs. World. There's a lot of players around. There's a lot of action. It's way more interesting when there are players around than if it's like completely dead and no one plays it. So I think that's good, even though we have big queues. I think the queues are obviously a big downside. I think that is like where you can clearly see that it's a little bit outdated, that the Edge of the Mist is not really a good map to play anymore. Even though it's interesting design-wise, but it's just outdated. So this is the only time where I would say World vs. World queues are a little bit annoying, but like most of the year when there is no World vs. World Rush, I think it's okay. The queues are not like completely telling me, oh, this is like, it doesn't feel that good to queue anymore. Typically you get in within half an hour, but during those rush events, it can take too long to actually get anything done. It's crazy how we're getting farmed in this matchup. It's crazy. It's so sad. Opinions on making Gift of Battle tradable. On the one hand, it motivates PvE players to try out World vs. World. On the other hand, it also brings a group of players that just AFK most of the time or just tag along to do one hit and keep participation. Yeah, World vs. World is polarizing. Yeah, I personally think it is good to force players in different game modes because then they will experience different game modes. But I agree that it's a little bit bad that it's so passive, you know. People don't really have to engage with the game mode, they just have to enter it to get the rewards. If it would be more active, then it could lead to toxicity, but people would have to participate like necessarily in those game modes. So I think there's always a big plus or a big negative. I think that always depends who you ask. So I think there is no perfect way to do it. I can see why it would be good to make it sellable, but I think at the same time it would also like completely disincentivize PvE players from playing World vs. World at all. They will never play it again. I'm like torn, to be honest. I see both sides. So I think they will not change it. I think that's like the only thing that I can tell you. I think it's very unlikely that they will go back and make the Gift of Battle tradable. I don't see that, but I can see there are positives why they should do it, but just saying they are typically not very good at going back to old items, old content and saying, okay, we make that different so that it gets more played. Typically they can like push out some stuff that is new that people engage with and they never come back to it and change the acquisition or even the account binding on stuff of items. I think that's happened sometimes, yes, but not often. And I don't see that happening for Gift of Battle. I think they really just want to have the full legendary being the only thing that you can sell. That is like a fact, I would say. Yeah, I mean, if you're a World vs. World player, then you have a lot of Gift of Battles around. And I think they want to make it so that people that don't play World vs. World have to engage with it a bit if they want to get some legendaries. And I think for the most part, it's not too bad. It's not a game mode where you say you have to be really good at it to actually get anything. I agree, it's a little bit annoying if the players take away your spot on the map and the queues are really big and they are just standing there and farming the reward track. I think that seems like not healthy design, but that's a general design issue with the pip system and the participation system. So yeah, like I said, there is probably no perfect solution. That's the big problem there. I wouldn't mind a gift of battle be obtainable in another game mode, but the fast acquisition would be World vs. World. That could be a fix, to be honest. But at the same time, they would probably not put it in PvE, to be honest. They would probably put it in PvP, so that it's a PvP or World vs. World thing. You can decide which one of those two you want to play, but you can't get it in PvE, so that you are forced to play different game modes. I could see that one, but people would probably still play World vs. World rather than PvP, because PvP is even more like niche than World vs. World. So yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think there's no perfect solution, sadly. Zimmer, do you think that they will make those templates things for cosmetics also for the build templates? What exactly do I mean? We know we get fashion templates, and I made a video today about how I predict them to be, and we know that they will be somewhat similar to equipment templates, and we will have just a look template, some wardrobe fashion template that will be exactly like this. I don't know how it will be purchasable, how many you will have, how many you will get for free and that kind of stuff. But I don't see how a build template would actually be like. We already have build templates, so I don't actually know what you're meaning with that. Yeah, exactly. I'm with you there, Turbo. I think account-wide cosmetic infusions, that's like the big thing that I hope we will get. But weirdly enough, they had a blog post that they released last Tuesday about the new expansion, and they mentioned fashion templates there, and they reworked this part of the fashion templates. So there is no infusion mentioned anymore. They're just saying that it's like armor, trinkets, dice, that stuff. It is saved, but they did not mention infusions. I don't know if that means that we will not get an infusion rework, or that it means that they don't want to give us some kind of insider trading information, that people panic sell their infusion or panic buy infusions. I don't know, just saying. That could also be a reason. I don't know, I can't speculate about that, just saying I hope we get some kind of infusion rework. That would be really good. Thanks for all the follows, really appreciate it, by the way. I want to thank you for always being such a nice guy on stream and on YouTube. Recently started watching builds from your channel and really enjoy them. That's nice. Yeah, glad I can help. And I really try to be nice, even though sometimes, yeah, sometimes I wouldn't say I'm toxic, but I try to like say what kind of mistakes are being made by people in my squad or in PvE and stuff, because I want to teach what is actually the problem here. I never want to offend anybody. So if that comes like across that I do some kind of stuff that sounds a little bit harsh, please let me know. I don't want to be offensive at all. You know, I'm always like trying to be helpful, friendly, positive. If that's like not the case, please remind me of that. But I hope that's not happening on stream, and typically it should never happen while I play Guild Wars 2. It's always my biggest concern. I want to have a positive mindset, positive vibes, while also being helpful and just hopefully entertaining as well. That's my biggest goal. And now let's hydrate for a second. I'm not sure if they have the tech resources to do it, so they won't mention it. Yeah, maybe. But the thing is, if they now don't know if they can do it, and it will come out in like 8 months or something, 9 months, I'm not sure if they will like do it, you know? If you don't know that in 8 months time that you can do it, then it's quite unlikely that they will do it. You know, I think if you a game studio that develops a MMO that is like already like 13 years old, and you don't know what you are capable of doing in like the next year, then I think it's quite unlikely that the thing that is like online, that is doable in that time, because typically it takes longer to develop something than you expect. If you don't know if you can do it, then it's probably likely that it's not doable in that time. So I really hope it is doable, but I can see your argument for sure. I just wanted to have at least 3 equipment templates from start. 1 for open world, 2nd for PvP, and 3rd for world versus world. Yeah, I think that's the thing. The build templates, equipment templates, fashion templates, the build storage, that gets a little bit convoluted, this system. But if you understand it, I think everything is in there for you. So I think it could work. Let's get farmed for the 9th time. It's again, we are back. But we don't give up. We don't give up. Let's put some healing out. No, we are already losing again. Yeah, they are just too organized. So sad. Oh, maybe. No, they get the rallies. That's not good, sad. Can't win against those, I guess. So sad. I think it could be a big bang for them. Whereas would go nuts. Yeah, I think the infusions thing is, in my opinion, something that would be insane in terms of like possible feature, like for getting money from the games. But the problem is that if it's too much like effort for them to implement, then even if it's bringing them money, it might not be worthwhile. Because yes, if it's a core feature that is really good and brings a lot of money, that is good. But if you put development time that you would normally put into content into a feature that brings money, then there will be no players around because there is no content that they can play, even if the feature itself is really like lucrative for them. So you have to find a really nice sweet spot to push out enough content to make the feature worthwhile for players to get into, while also having enough resources put into this new feature to make it really lucrative and really well done. So yeah, not the easiest decision. I hope they do it. The EBGQ is only 40. It's not too big. It was bigger before. Nice, 92. You will get there, Snowdrop. You will get there. Yeah, you have apparently bigger queues for your maps. That's good. I guess that means that you have more active people. You know, we just get farmed on this server here. That's the sad part, yeah. Sadly. But happens, you know. It's not too bad. I like world versus world still. Even if we get farmed, you know, sometimes you have to have fun and stuff, even if you're losing. I want more information about Evoker already. Want to know how it works? Yeah, I think actually the cute fox is probably one of the most likely elite specs to be popular. And I actually think we will get enough information to actually be really hyped about it tomorrow. We will probably get all the 3 elite specs that we are already teased. Troubadour, Antiquary, Evoker. We get some kind of the core mechanic of it explained in a blog post tomorrow, and we will see a teaser video. And on Friday, I'm expecting to see all of the attacks and all of the gameplay in one single stream. That will be really interesting, really hyped up stream. I will do a video about it in the future, but that will be, I will looking forward to that for sure. Looks like my server got the good pucks, 500 kills, 1 death so far. Ooh, that looks amazing, crazy. I mean, I don't want to look for our server, to be honest. Our server is probably really bad. Let's check it. Just check it for fun. So yeah, they all have a positive and we have a negative one. We just get farmed. Oh no. Oh no. I think I died once or something. So it wasn't me. But yeah. What elite specs are you most excited for? I think I'm excited for almost all of them. I have to put that in a slightly different way, your question. I would say the one that I'm not excited for is the Antiquary right now. It doesn't really suit my fantasy of Thief. But I'm looking forward to the Troubadour. I'm looking forward to the Evoker. I don't know about the others because I don't know the names yet, and sometimes even the class assignments are not completely clear. But I think all of them I'm looking forward to. I think the Antiquary is not my crazy most favorite elite spec from a design class fantasy, but maybe the gameplay is amazing. So we will see. Maybe I'm very happy about it and will play it all the time after that, you know. After all, my gameplay enjoyer. We gonna live react tomorrow, or are we gonna do a video beforehand? So, Snowdrop, my plan is that I will stream on Thursday, and tomorrow I will do a video about it. Otherwise, I will be like completely like gone, you know, doing a blog post and a video analysis on one evening while also streaming. That would completely crush my mental. So I will do the video tomorrow and will stream on Thursday. And I think I will do that for the rest of the 3 weeks, so that I will always release the video on Wednesday and do the stream on Thursday talking about it and be more relaxed and a little bit laid back then. That's the idea there. I hope that makes sense. Because otherwise, you know, I will completely burn out if I stream every single thing and also make a video about it. That will be like, I couldn't like sleep until like after 12 or something, and then have to wake up in the morning already very early. So that's too much for me to handle it. But yeah, I will definitely do stream and video, just maybe not in the like expected way. I hope that they will make warrior mains happy with the new elite spec. I'm very much like positive that this will be the case. I think Paragon is a really nostalgic class, and I think they will really make it really broken and really overpowered and really like feeling like a warrior. I really see that happening, and because of that, I think it will probably be a popular spec, and I really don't see it like being not to warriors like happiness. I really don't see it. But maybe there will be some forum warrior that says, oh my god, I want to get a full DPS Condi spec and I don't get it. And I'm really sad now. That could happen, or will probably happen, because there will always be some crazy people that want a specific thing and they don't get it. But yeah, I mean, you can't please everyone, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess everyone has high hopes, like crazed. Yeah, I guess that's true. But I think if the hopes are high and ArenaNet knows this, I think they are quite likely to put a lot of effort into this spec to make sure that it's actually like also really interesting and really cool. And I actually have to be honest, my take at least is that almost all the elite specs that they ever released were actually really good. There is no elite spec that is, I would say, just shit. There is maybe some kind of like opinion that you say Catalyst is not a fun design. That might be true, but it's so good that a lot of people still play it. The same goes, for example, for Mechanist. A lot of people don't like the pet, but they still play it because it's really strong or really easy. So there is like, I think there is no reason to think that there will be an elite spec that is really like completely no one plays it because it's shit and it's bad design. I don't see that. I think we never had that. So I think we are quite likely to get a good expansion with good elite specs. I really think so. Yeah, that could be true. You know, that could be true. I could do it on stream. Yeah, but then I will, you know, the problem is editing the video down. Oh my god, we get another fight. Takes another time. You know, Teapot has, I think his brother does the editing in the background while he streams, you know, so I can't do that. I'm just a single person. So that's the negative. It would take me to the next day to get the video out, and then a lot of people would not watch my video anymore, because after all it's a news video. So that's the problem, you know. If I had more like employees and more help, then that would be nice. But right now I'm just a single streamer. That's the sad part. Yeah, I think it would be cool to see a more modern take on Paragon and not make it like in Guild Wars 1, but make it a little bit more interesting. So how it looks in Guild Wars 2's environment. I think that could be really interesting, because in Guild Wars 1 it was a really good spec, but I'm not sure if they will say this is exactly how we will do it in Guild Wars 2. Maybe they will just make it a slightly different one, you know, looks a little bit different, does a similar playstyle, but is not like exactly the same. Yeah, I could see that. Just give it a new take on the same elite spec, or same spec in general, yeah. I'm hoping Antiquary is a power elect option for Thief. Yeah, I think actually this is quite likely. I think Antiquary looks like a power spec because Spectre is the Alacrity Condi spec, and I think Thief already has a lot of Condi options where power options are a little bit limited for supporting. You have Daredevil and you have Deadeye, and those are the power options, but they don't have a lot of cleave. So I would actually expect to see some kind of cleave power alacrity provider for Antiquary. I think that's the most likely scenario. Yeah, I agree with you. Even thought I don't want them to be like, giving out those buffs everywhere, but it's clearly their design structure, so even it out. Yeah, I think they really want to give every single spec a DPS build and some kind of support spec. I don't see any build that or any elite spec coming out that doesn't have any support capabilities. It's sad, I don't like that design, but they really want to power creep it, I guess. Yeah, see you, Arthur, see you. I mean, Spellbreaker become really weird after so many nerfs and the visual bug in PvP. Yeah, that's really annoying, the visual bug. It's one of the most annoying things in PvP, even though it's not like affecting the gameplay. It's just looking weird and therefore affecting the gameplay. But yeah, it is just, sometimes the bugs are annoying and sometimes they don't fix the annoying bugs even. Spear Paragon for the win. Yeah, I mean, maybe we get Spear as a really good weapon for Paragon. Could happen, could happen. Is the Evoker in Guild Wars 1 or is it a new class? Yeah, I think it's very new. I think it's not in Guild Wars 1 lore at all, or in general. I think Guild Wars lore doesn't have it. And we will see if that's like a really good class, if it's a really like new class. Maybe it's like just a copy from another MMO, like an Evoker in World of Warcraft, or maybe it's a Shaman or something like that. Or maybe it's like some really crazy cook and it's a really like different take on how the class plays, you know? Because I would say, for example, Weaver is an elementalist, but tell me another, like World of Warcraft or any other MMO that actually has some spec that is elementalist, or something close to some kind of mage that has the gameplay of a Weaver. So I think they have really cool ideas sometimes, or often, for elite specs. So maybe the Evoker is like completely crazy, you know? Yes, we know that there will be this fire foxy thing, yes, but we don't know how that will interact with anything. So maybe it will be like fire fox and a water fox and an air fox, or maybe it will be the fire fox that just gets to be like some kind of a blue fox in water and a white fox in air. Could also happen. And at the same time, we could also see that this is just one attack out of 6 or something, you know, that could be one of your utility skills, or maybe the elite skill. And maybe we get like 5 other skills on the utility bar that are also evoking some kind of new pet. We will see. So I can see a lot of options how the Evoker plays out. I think that's the one that I'm looking the most forward to, because it looks the most like intriguing from just how many options you have as a design. Gameplay wise, you know. Paragon and Ritualist are the only returning ones. Yeah, maybe we are still like, we don't get the Dervish, but maybe we get some kind of Dervish feeling, you know. We don't know if we will get the Dervish yet, at least. It's not confirmed, but I can see that we will get maybe even the Monk, you know. Maybe Revenant gets the Monk, you know. Who knows? Could be at this point, it could be everything. I mean, getting farmed here again, of course. I mean, we get someone in the backline, actually. But then everyone dies. Yeah, classic. I guess I will leave. So sad. So sad. Is Reaper Staff in World vs. World decent? Yes, it is decent, but it's not like meta. I would say Reaper is really locked into being played with some kind of aggressive power option. You would not typically play the Reaper with a staff in most scenarios, but you can play it as a power Reaper with staff. In Zerg, it is not as good as it is in roaming. In roaming, Harbinger, Celestial Harbinger in particular, is really good with staff. It's a meta build there. So I think staff is a really good weapon, but not in all cases. Yeah. So take that as you want, I would say. Nice, we get a nice skirmish here, like 5 versus 5 or something. Nice, nice, nice. Revenant gets Monk and not Guardian? We don't know who gets Monk. Maybe no one gets Monk. I'm just saying we don't know who gets Monk, and if we get some kind of spec that we did not like expect to get any like name like that. Could be that we still get the Paragon on someone else, or that we get the Dervish on someone else. Seems very unlikely. I think Paragon is guaranteed to be Warrior and Ritual is guaranteed to be Necromancer. But at this point it could be, to be honest, like the Dervish on Revenant, or it could be like, it could be at this point like a lot of different specs that are still not completely known which one is like which we don't know. We will see over the course of the next 2.5 weeks, which we will get. And I'm really excited for that, for sure. And we just know that it will be the Luminary for Guardian probably, and it will be the Gale Shot for Ranger. Yeah, those are like the things that we know. And therefore we have still 4 open spots. I think it's not very likely that we will get a Monk or a Dervish, but it can still be, yeah. W, yes. Tomorrow there will be no stream. Tomorrow we will get a blog post and we get a video. So I guess we get a video about how the new classes play out or the new lead specs play out. And I will do a video about that. And on Thursday I will do another stream about just Guild Wars 2 things and debating the new stuff. And on Friday we will get the big live stream. That's the exciting time for that one. You know, this is really annoying. There are like 3-4 thieves or something around. That's just annoying at this point. So annoying. I've tried to Power Scourge Boon Strip build in World vs. World, and I think that I don't understand that build because it just feels wrong to play Power Scourge. I mean, Power Scourge is not something that I would typically recommend, but in a Zerg it can work. I think it's not the best Scourge build though. I think it's better to play a support Scourge with Minstrel or something and play a Power Reaper as a DPS. I think typically I would not recommend Power Scourge, but it can work and it's definitely a good build. And I just don't like the playstyle. I think I'm a bit more like, I like to either heal or play full DPS. I don't like to play some kind of hybrid DPS that is also not doing that much other than boon stripping. But I could see why you would play it for sure. It's fine, it's fine. I mean, sometimes you just have to say kick W, you know. Sometimes that's what you have to do. Different streamers are playing Guild Wars 2 right now, like Kanan and Seppler. That is true. I was really surprised to see those guys around. And, you know, I watched them before, even without actually seeing them play Guild Wars 2. And it was actually really fun that they now play Guild Wars 2. That is really cool. I'm really excited to have that. Because obviously they are not good Guild Wars 2 players, but they are big streamers, or at least somewhat big content creators in the MMO scene. So I'm really excited to get this much attention from like players that are not really like crazy committed to Guild Wars 2. So I'm really like hoping that we get more of that in the future to actually just boost the general like publicity and general image of Guild Wars 2, because that's one of the things that is dearly missing. It's just more just YouTube, Twitch, all that good stuff, just activities there, you know, just more active people, viewers on there. That would help the game the most, I would say, more than any marketing ANET can do. So I really hope that this really helps Guild Wars to grow. Yeah. And funny enough, Canon's group was really impressed by us learning catacombs and the explorable paths, or the irony of abandoned content. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know, I'm a dungeon enjoyer. I don't know if you know that, but I like dungeons. I really like them. I did grind them back in the old days a lot. And even now I still sometimes do them because they are fun content. I like to have this, like, not too linear path. Like, fractals are often nowadays, especially look at Kinfall Fractal, very linear. You know, it's one thing, one straight line. You kill the noob, the mobs and the trash mobs and go to the end boss. But dungeons, especially Ara, is way more like you skip around, you do one thing and then do another thing. And yes, they are still somewhat like to do one and then the other thing, but it's way more flexible, way more over the map, and you have to go to different locations. And you skip trash mobs and you sometimes even skip boss fights if you do it correctly. It's really interesting. I think that's really fun. And it's sad that they didn't do that. Maybe that's coming with the coffee shop, that, you know, maybe dungeons is something that they want to take a look at. And maybe we get new dungeons in the expansion. I doubt it, but you never know. You never know what they are cooking. Yeah, I think the dungeons in Guild Wars 2 were like, the sad part is that this was like released dungeons as like some kind of story level content, even though people did it as endgame content. So I think that was the biggest mistakes with dungeon, was that they were never done in a way that they were done after level 80. If they would have designed all explorable paths in every single dungeon in a way that it's been being done at level 80, that you farm it for level 80, that everything is not downscaled, that everything works in a way that it is like made for being to max level characters. That would be like the thing that I would say would be the biggest thing, so that people would say the end game of Guild Wars 2 at launch was dungeons. But that was not the case. A lot of times players played the game, get to level 80, played some PvP in World vs. World, and then said, there is no PvE endgame, I don't want to play it. So I think that was like the biggest thing, that the biggest mistake, that the dungeons should have been the level 80 endgame content. Yeah, see you Snowdrops, enjoy your food. Welcome Getwell soon, welcome. Hope you had a nice day as well. Yeah, I think for me, Guild Wars 2 is a really good game that started as a great game, and a lot of people thought Guild Wars 2 doesn't have an end game. Yeah, and that's a problem. That's a big problem, because that means that the players that want to get into endgame content like raids, fractals, and dungeons and that kind of stuff have this in the mindset that Guild Wars 2 doesn't have an endgame. And even 12 years after that, people still, that you ask from outside that didn't play Guild Wars 2, still have the same mindset of saying, yeah, Guild Wars 2, yeah, interesting game, but doesn't have any endgame. It's just like the stigma that people have about Guild Wars 2 that don't play Guild Wars 2 is such a negative image that you don't get players that actually could enjoy the game right now. And that's why I really hope that Canon, Sapla, all the streamers that are currently coming from other games, trying it out, actually see how good the game is and how much endgame there currently is, even if you only play PvE. So really hope so. Thanks a lot for the Prime. Really appreciate it, 6 shots. Thanks a lot. Took a little break, but I'm back building my Chronomancer at the moment, using that build that you just posted. How's Virtuoso Willbender doing in SPVP? Really good. So Willbender is one of the most fun, best builds, I would say, in PvP if you want to just have fun and get a really nice power build for ranked play. Virtuoso is, I would say, decent, a little bit worse than Willbender in my opinion, but also a little bit safer. So both can work, just depends a bit on your gameplay and how you like it. I like Willbender a little bit better, to be honest. Yeah, but what can I say? I think ranked, just play whatever you like. You know, ranked PvP is at this point, whatever build you pick, you can make it work. There is not enough competition to actually make ranked PvP like crazy tryhard and stuff. So just go for it, yeah. One of these days I'll try and learn Mirage. Yeah, Mirage is a build I would not recommend to players that are returning, and even like players that are veterans that don't want to have the craziest squishy builds, because Mirage is really punishing. It's like, I would say 1 out of 10 players that tries Mirage is actually good enough to make it work. It's really like that hard. It's not a build that I can recommend to most players. I think even myself, I would say in competitive modes, I think Mirage is borderline not good. I'm not good enough for this build, because Mirage is really, you have to put a lot of effort in to make this build work at all. Because if you play Mirage, even though you play the same build as, for example, Dracé or Caspi or all the good players, you will not be able to perform as good as them, not even close to as good as them, and therefore you will just feed. You will just die over and over and will have no value for your team. You would be way better off playing, for example, Willbender or Virtuoso. 100%. So you always have to think like that. Can I make this build work to a level that is actually good enough for me? Guild Wars 2 has endgame, but people expect endgame on the same scale as World of Warcraft. People don't understand that Guild Wars 2 was made for casual gamers and not those that are willing to grind 12 hours plus in WoW. Yeah, that's true. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem, that the image of Guild Wars 2 is just wrong or not really existing, what it actually is. And it could attract so many people if it would have the right image. But sadly, over the years, it couldn't fix what people in the beginning saw in the game. And I really tried to make that work and make it happen. But as a single content creator, you can't change the whole image, obviously. I just try to get more players into the game and actually provide value for all of them. That's my big hope here. Let's go for some Iceboot Saga Strike missions, I guess. One second. I crafted my first legendary after 11 years, so yeah, it has the biggest endgame. Nice. At least you did it, you know, that's the thing. And you have now a legendary, that's really good. Legendary is, after all, the biggest endgame grind that you can get in the game, which is a fun one. I like to do it. Obviously, I have a lot of legendaries. But yeah, it's like Guild Wars 2. The endgame is gathering legendaries, gathering more skins, just having fun. Why are people always shining? Yeah, I'm a DPS. I did not look for DPS, but okay, it's fine. Mirage seems tough. I can't even get my Power Herald going. Yeah, I think a lot of power builds in Guild Wars 2 PvP are harder to play than Condi builds, or at least tanky builds. So I can definitely see why you're saying that, but practice makes perfect. You just have to accept that, and at some point you will get there. But if you don't have enough time to spend on this build, or you don't like it too much, then yeah, you have to at some point say, okay, I better try something else and will succeed more on that one. Okay, let's check. Sorry, I have to organize the squad here. It's weird, I always find Mirage difficult to play against. The invulnerability and insane mobility makes it hard to kill. Yes, it is hard to play against, but only if the player is good at it. Because it has very good mobility, it has very good just general utility, but as soon as you do one mistake, you might die for it, because you're so squishy. It's very punishing. So if you, as the opponent, plays very well, or just knows this is now where it doesn't dodge, where it's vulnerable, you can kill it. But if you don't know that, you will die. So it's really like volatile in either way. So that's Mirage in a nutshell. Not only in PvP, actually, in all game modes. So let's check. Hopefully we get a Alacrity heal now. Please. You know, if I'm looking for Alacrity heal, I hope that we get an Alacrity heal. Please, please, please. So give me 1 second and I will catch up on chat. I just want to... Yes, we did it. Can look for DPS now. Now it takes 1 second to fill the full thing. Very good. Between Herald, Willbender, Reaper and Berserker, which one can do PvP and PvE better? All of them can do it. I would say, personally, Willbender and Reaper are probably the best options out of them, to be honest. But all of them can do it. You know, that wasn't like, that was like 30 seconds to fill the DPS role. You know, greedy DPS players are, yeah. So I would say Reaper or Willbender, yeah. Fished for 30 hours straight, finally got my full set of legendary armor. Crazy Winslow. You really like, you're crazy. That's insane. At least you did it. Good job. That's what we want, you know. More crazy people like you to provide all the ambergris that we need. Good job, good job. So I crafted HMS Divinity today. I hate myself because I realized I could have used the mats for the Aqua Breeder. Yeah, I mean, you still have like, how much time do you have left? Let's check. You have 98 days remaining until the expansion comes out. So you have still quite a lot of time to actually go and get the mats, but I'm already saving up a bit. Yeah, I can see that. But don't worry, you will get them, Manga. Is Dagger and Spear the best weapon for DPS Chronomancer? Yes, it is. I've been playing this game off and on for 10 years, never got a commander tag. Do you think it's worth getting? It depends how you play the game. If you want to grade your own groups, especially with raids and strike missions, and even in competitive like World vs. World and stuff, yes, it's very much worth it. But if you just join regular groups that are already existing in the game and you just want to be one of the people that joins after it's already created, then I think there's no reason to go for it. I think commander tags is nice to have, but not everybody needs it. So just keep that in mind. Think about it, what you are, what kind of player you are. I like it. I use it often just to create my squads and get the people correctly sorted and stuff. But not everyone likes it. Yes, the World vs. World rush just started 4 hours ago. Been seeing your content a lot lately on YouTube. Yeah, I'm hopefully in a positive way. You know, I like to put out my content and get some nice attention there, and hope getting people's like positive vibes around. Okay, so let's go. Let's check if everyone is coming. Can Mechanist heal also in the end? Yes, Mechanist can heal. Mechanist is not the best healer, but I think it's a decent healer. You can definitely play it in all content in PvE for sure. So it's time. It's time. See you, 6 shots. Thanks for joining. See you. See you. Good luck. You have to actually use your brain, unlike Willbender. Yeah, exactly. Herald is in a spot right now. I would say it's not bad, don't get me wrong. I just think Herald is in a spot where you actually have to be better than average to actually make it perform well. And Willbender is more like you just spam all your buttons and you will probably succeed. And I think as a new player, typically you want to have builds that are less punishing and still can do the same job than having a build that is really challenging or somewhat challenging, while also like not providing that much more. Like Herald is not better than Willbender. It's just like harder to play. That's the truth, sadly. At least Power Herald. Yeah. So no problem, Savi. No problem. Is someone using the buzzsaw in your house? Really? Maybe that's just like my brain. I don't think so. It should not be there should be no background noise. Maybe it was the music. Maybe it was the music that has a weird like sound. I skipped the song. Maybe that helps. I'm playing on EU, but as I'm an ArenaNet partner since last week, I can now swap. I can now swap to NA as well. So maybe I will do some NA stuff in the future as well. Some kind of like Icebrood Saga runs or some strike mission or just some fractal runs. Yeah, I might do that in the future as well. I checked the legendary relic. What is that amount of loosened modes? Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of new players or somewhat new players that don't have the relic since it came out criticize. The legendary relic is insanely expensive. This thing is so expensive. It's unnecessary that it's so expensive, but it is, and that means that you have to accept either you don't go for it because it's too expensive or you just take it like it is. Yeah. Cheaper way to get legendary relic is to get the time machine and go back to the past to craft the legendary rune. Yeah, I mean that was obviously the way how I did it, but for no new players or players that were not doing it back then, that was obviously is not a good thing. Good. Herald harder than Willbender in PvE? I would say Willbender in PvE as a build, as a power or quantity DPS build is harder to play than Herald, yes. But in competitive modes, Herald is like way harder than Willbender. I think it depends heavily in which game mode you are like looking at, but I'm with you. In PvE, Willbender is harder. Yes, that is correct. But I would say not a lot of people nowadays play Herald in PvE now. If you want to get high DPS, that's just not true. So stability, some quickness. No, they took my quickness. There we go. Yeah, exactly. You know, that's like the partner perk that you can swap around. But of course, you know, have to be honest. Like most players would only swap once from an A to EU or the other way around. So for a partner, it makes way more sense because obviously I want to engage with more people in the community. So I think that makes sense that I want to like engage with you and swap around all the time. That makes way more sense. But even I don't do it all that often. You know, I would probably do it every now and then and not like every single day. It takes a while to switch, so it's not the fastest thing. I can't say, okay, I'm switching my character now and next time I will be on an A. But of course, yes, it's a good thing that I can do that now. One of the things that I also want to do is like watching PvP tournaments, because that's something that I can now do as well. I can just now spectate them. That's really cool. Because that was something that we couldn't do before, of course, and you can't do that as a normal player. So I will really, I'm really interested to watch some PvP tournaments, maybe even commentate them if Teapot isn't doing it, for example. Really interesting times. Really nice to have that perk now. I'm really happy to have that. And if you haven't purchased the expansion pre-order that yet, you can use my referral link. Link is in the description below. If you want to support me for no additional cost, you can get the expansion and pre-order it and using my referral link. But of course you don't have to. I can understand if you want to wait and see how the elite specs are looking before you make any purchases. You still have a few months left until you have to decide if you want to get the expansion. Another question. 1 second, let me start up the squad. There we go. If I need to choose between Untamed Hammer or Herald with Greatsword, would Herald have more self-sustain or Untamed? In the past I have loved Untamed. So Untamed is more self-sustaining than Herald. Herald is a little bit like nice with the wounds and stuff, but it doesn't have the biggest self-sustain. It has one really good healing skill, but that's about it. On Untamed you have a lot of nice healing passively if you wanted to do that. So I think Untamed is like the choice that I would give you if you wanted to play self-sustaining, but Herald has a really good tankiness as well. I think both of them work. Yeah, it's just like, choose what you like. I think Untamed is slightly better right now. That's just my personal take. Willbender, PvE is harder. PvP, World versus World, Herald is harder. Exactly. I think Power Herald is one of the, like, I wouldn't say hardest power builds in PvP or World versus World, but it's very punishing. It's very punishing. If you play it wrong for 1 second, you might die. And Willbender in PvE is like very spammy, and if you don't know what you're doing, it can also be quite punishing, and you can't upkeep the damage, for example. But I would say, oh, that was close. But I would say for 90% of the community, I would say Herald is harder to play in competitive modes, whereas Willbender is harder to play in PvE. And that's about right. It doesn't mean that it's like unplayable, don't get me wrong. I like to play both in both game modes, and it's doable, even though I'm not the best player. But I would not recommend playing a Willbender in PvE if you don't know what you're doing. I think that's a little bit like, you can do it, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a spammy build that gets punished quite hard if you spam in the wrong moment, which is really weird to say, of course. But that's just how it is. Especially Condi Willbender is extremely spammy. You have so many skills that you use like almost every second. It's crazy. Nice, we have decent DPS, decent group. We like it. Very good. And would you still play Hammer with Untamed or even Greatsword now? So Hammer is okay, Greatsword is okay, but typically you play either Sword, Hammer, Spear. Those are more likely to be played than like Greatsword. Greatsword is in a weird spot because it's not as good as it was. And you would typically either play Hammer, Spear, or Sword, even X. Those are like the common choices. Greatsword is a little bit like niche. I wouldn't typically play it. But if you like it, you can still make it work. It's not complete garbage. Yeah, the forced movement on Willbender is not for everyone. That much is true. It is not like really bad, the forced movement. You can make it work. But it's definitely feels not as like fun to play than other specs where you don't have that forced movement, especially on fights where you get punished by like jumping around. Or like having just in the wrong time the boss spawns somewhere else and you fall off a platform or something. That can be really painful, and it happens on forced movement skills way more often than on any other skills. So yeah, what can I say? Definitely recommend playing it, trying it, but it is not for everyone. Do you see people abusing arc DPS to talk down on other people? No, I've never seen that, to be honest. I'm always looking for friendly people, and I never have any problems finding people that are like doing enough DPS, and like I really had never anyone being like toxic towards people just because they were like doing bad DPS. I really did not have that yet, but maybe I'm also in different groups, you know, it happens, but I did never experience that. So I think I might stick to Hammer. Yeah, Hammer seems like a reasonable choice. Yeah, Hammer is a good one for Untamed. But then with Dragon Hunter, when a boss moves out of your traps, you lose so much. Yeah. I think that's how it should be. Like every DPS build has its pros and its cons. I think that's how it should be. But there are some builds, like for example Power Willbender, is for example better at some things, whereas Condi Willbender is better at another thing. I think that's also true, but play the one that you enjoy. You know, if you don't mind the forced movement, go for Willbender. If you like to play traps and you want to have some like hard-hitting skills but get punished if you move out, yeah, Dragon Hunter's for you. But there is like no perfect DPS spec, I would say. That's the good thing. I think that's not true for support. I think the perfect support right now is Chronomancer. It has like one issue, which is like boon up time when the mob is not, or the boss is not targetable. But for like 99.9% of the cases, Chronomancer is the best support. So I think that should be like addressed and made similar to DPS, because DPS specs are obviously also like having good things, and some of them are better at some encounters than others, and I think that's how it should be for supports as well. So I hope we get that at some point. But we will see. We will see. Hopefully they give us some insight on what balancing they have coming up with the next expansion, because I expect to get some balancing as well. Not only the elite specs, but also some balancing. So we will see. We will see. I've been talked down a lot because I have low DPS all the time. That's crazy. You know, I'm never like, most of the time I just look how much IDPS I do, maybe compared to the others, but I never would engage with anyone just saying, oh my God, you have low DPS. I don't care. You know, if you don't die, I'm good with it. You know, if you do the mechanics, I'm good. You know, that's the only thing that matters to me. If you die, then I'm a little bit sad, especially for example, if you die on Bone Skin on the first attack, I'm sad. That is just something that I don't like. But like, that's the only thing. Welcome, Alessandro. I'm basically new to the level 80 play modes and I'm having a rough time, to be honest. What are the best activities to do at level 80 besides the expansion storylines? So on my YouTube channel, I have a video. It's called What You Should Do at Level 80 or something. And it tells you what the different activities are in level 80 and how you can actually do it and stuff. So be sure to check that one out. But the short answer is just do what you like. Everything in Guild Wars 2 in the end game is in like has some purpose. You don't have to do the stories if you don't like the story. You can do map exploration. You can go into instance content like raids and fractals. You can go into world versus world. You can even play PvP. Everything works. Just try to have fun, play the game mode that you like, play a different build that you like. There are so many different things that you could do. All of them work. Just tell me what you like to do and I can give you some insight there, or you can just watch my video and get some more concise insight without me like stuttering around and giving you the most insightful thing here. So let's see if someone dies. So far, no one died. No, I spoke too soon, just in this second, you know, that's Bone Skinner. Better have low DPS than having like dying here, you know, that's. And it's also, I think, the healer. Maybe it's, yeah, I think it was the healer. No, maybe not. I'm not sure. Maybe it was not the healer. No, it's just like, I'm always sad if people die to Bone Skinner attacks because I think it's one of the most telegraphed bosses in the entire game. The telegraphs are a little bit off sometimes, but it's nonetheless telegraphed. So yeah, what can I say? So let's give some barrier, give some stability, healing. Please don't die on me here. I started working towards Vision and now I regret I didn't do the story achievements. Yeah, that's true. That's not something that you want to miss. But, I mean, you can still do it. It's a one-time thing. And when you are done with the Vision stuff, then you don't have to do it again. And you get the legendary for it. So I think it's okay to do it. The classic. How many people are still alive? Like 8? Feels like way less. The DPS is quite low, but it's okay. We did it. You see, it doesn't really matter too much. I think we are done. But right now I'm actually thinking of solo play and join the game more. I'm leveling Chronomancer, but man, it's kind of slow to level the elite specs. Yeah, I mean, it takes a while. That is true, but that's the same thing. It takes a while, but you only have to do it once. So you are done after doing it once. You have the elite spec unlocked and you will never do it again. And you can then enjoy the game completely differently. So take the journey as a win, have fun doing that, and you will never go back to it. Oh, I got 2 of those boxes. That's crazy. They are not worth anything, but still. Still. A third one? What is going on? That's crazy. 3 drops that are not that crazy worth it, but still. Never had that before, to be honest. And I did a lot of Bone Skinner and stuff. Crazy. Because of your last conversation, I started playing Mesmer. Yeah, I mean, Mesmer is like, I would say Mesmer right now, if you want to play every game mode, or even if you only want to play PvE, Mesmer is currently the GOAT. It's the best class overall, I would say. It's really, really good. You can fill every role and be the top, like, role filler. You can be the best DPS. You can be the best support, the best defensive support, or the best healer. It's just really, really good and really flexible. Of course, it's not for everyone, but I would highly recommend it if you want to get like a big carry build. This is the one for you, for sure. Yeah, I think Guild Wars 2 is like the casual aspect of the game is what actually should sell the game. You know, yes, you could play strike missions and raids and go into tryhard PvP and stuff like that, but there is so much more stuff in the open world, like soloing, like doing meta events, farming some legendaries, just farming some, maybe doing some fishing. Guild Wars 2 endgame is like a sandbox. You can play however you like to play, and you will actually succeed. You will find something that is worthwhile for you to actually have fun and do it to get some gold. Everything gives gold if it's not like some role playing. Of course, if you're role playing, that is not giving you any rewards, but if you actually engage with the systems, with the game, you will actually get something out of it. It might take a while for some game modes to get the legendaries or something, but you will get there. It's just like Guild Wars 2 is a marathon, it's not a sprint. Just have fun, you will get there. Do I have all of the skins? I guess. Yeah. Welcome, Tokwan. Thanks for showing me my favorite Dragon Hunter build. Perfect, you know, that's what I want to hear. More people enjoying my different builds. That's very good. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Let's clean up some inventory. Yeah, inventory wars is real, you know. If you're a new player, you know, you don't know what you're doing. Can be quite painful to clear the inventory like I just did, you know. My inventory is quite clean because I know what I'm doing, but I can see that you can struggle here to clear this stuff. For sure. Welcome, 12's Table. Welcome, welcome. Role-playing can be profitable. That is true, but maybe not in like in the. I would say this is the thing that is very profitable or not profitable, depending on who you're doing it with, and it could be profitable for you as having fun. But I think it's not like giving you good gold power usually. Of course, if you're like doing some weird stuff, maybe. But I would say stuff that is like in-game, like doing fractals, doing open world meta events, doing PvP, world versus world, everything like that gives decent amount of gold power. There are some that give more, there are others that give less, but all of them give you a little bit of gold power. And typically it's balanced around 20 gold power. So if you want to get a legendary, you need to grind quite a lot, but that's a long-term goal. You will get there, you will have some fun, and just enjoy the ride. That's the biggest thing that I can give you for Guild Wars 2. Have some long-term goals, have some fun with it, and you will get there. You will get there eventually. It just takes a while. Yeah, the queue is quite long. That is true. At least you had a 30 versus 30. That sounds like nice, Scully. That sounds good. I really hope. I was doing Edge of the Mist earlier, and I would like really say it was not that good. I was happy that I could get off it. It was like spawn camped there. It was not that nice. Do you think 32 slot packs are worth it? It depends who you asked. I personally like it. I have it on my like some characters. You know, I can show it to you. Give me a second. I have like some characters that have that. Fully like 32 slot packs. Maybe this guy. Let's check. I think this guy is my storage character. No, not anymore. I have like a lot of 32 slot packs on some of my storage characters. Ah, yes, I took it away. 1 second. I have it to another character. For me, as someone that has a lot of characters and needs a lot of storage space, for me it's worth it to have 32 slot packs. Look at this character. This has a lot. I have a lot of 32 slot packs, just the standard gear lying around here, because I always get more standard gear. I need to craft more like packs to get that in here. But yeah, sometimes it's worth it. I played your solo Bladezone build. I soloed Mushroom Cream with it. Perfect. That's what we like. That's what we like. Runecrafter Savage or Medic on sale right now. Already have all the others. Should I buy this too? Yes. I think Runecrafters is really good. You use that for green gear with runes on there, and it's really lucrative because you get a lot of loosened modes, which you then can sell, which are quite profitable. Loosened modes give you a lot of gold from this one. It's really, really worth it. Do you like the raid or the Obsidian Legendary Armor more? I like both of them. I have both of them just because, but I personally like the raid one from the looks more, but I have both of them if I wanted to change it. That's you know, at some point you have to do something in the game. What's a suggestion for those who are struggling with inventory management? I'm spending 2 hours a day cleaning my bags and bank. There is no real big thing. I think getting more character slots can help because you can just use them as storage, which what I do, you know, I have 70 characters after all, so I use them for storage. But if you don't want to do that, then you just have to clean the inventory. This is sadly the truth for Guild Wars 2. It's like you have to accept that at some point that the inventory has to be cleaned if you have a small inventory, not a lot of storage space. That takes a while, but 2 hours a day is painful, so I can see that. I feel you, yeah. So the Legendary Armor is a casual farm of about 1 piece a month. Yeah, it takes a while, but you will get there. Raid is faster, but it's obviously a little bit more try-hard. But from the look, I like the raid one more, I would say. I buy my inventory keys so to somewhere I can reach, so whenever there's downtime. Yeah, exactly. I always use it for, I clean my inventory all the time when I'm not on stream, because then I never have a full inventory. I don't like to keep my inventory trashy until it's like completely full, and then I have to do it. I don't like that. I want to always clean it when I have downtime, so that I never get to a moment where it's full and I can't clean it up anymore. Yeah. Spear moveset on Power Berserker is really fun. Not sure about the damage though. I mean, Power Berserker with Spear is actually decent. It's not the best option, I think, but it's decent, yeah. Yeah, it's totally reasonable, you know. Good that you understand it, you know. It's like, why would I not have 70 characters, you know? I still have 3 slots open, yeah. So, yeah, I take them, you know. For me, it's like I play 9 PvE characters, each of one class. I play 9 World vs. World characters and 9 PvP characters, and the rest, so I have 27 characters that I actually play, and the rest, so all 43 others are actually storage. I don't play them at all, they're just storage. And they are looking like this, you know, just a storage character with full inventory. Like, this is my 3rd or something character with Eternal Ice Shard. So I just have, that's just storage. That's just a veteran that has a lot of time spent in the game, uses character as storage. My problem with Obsidian Armor is that it looks underwhelming without the suffused version. I agree. The normal version looks really boring and like not good, but the suffused version is really cool. That's why I went for it as well. I'm just done with it. I like it. I agree. Coming from your Celestial Offensive top healer video, which Celestial off healer has best burst and large AoE? I'm still trying which one would be the best for solo farming as healer. Good AoE. Probably Tempest has good AoE, and Firebrand. Those two are probably the best with the AoE aspect. I think Firebrand would be a superior. Nah, both of them are really good. I think it depends a bit. I would say Firebrand is harder to perform on, but Tempest is easier. Firebrand can be better if you play Fractals. I think it depends. Both of them are probably the best AoE wise. Yeah. But like I said, Celestial builds, you should only play in some situations. You should not say, this is my go-to build, I played it in every content, because sometimes it's just not working there. For example, I would not recommend playing a Celestial Tempest on Bone Skinner as the healer. You will struggle because your group takes more damage than you expect. You will not be able to sustain them. So always keep in mind when to play a Celestial healer, when to play a full-fledged Harrier or Minstrel or Giver healer. So take that always into account. But I would say 90% of the content, Celestial healers are really good, especially in open world, because you can deal damage, you can heal, you can provide alacrity or quickness. It's really good. It's just best option to play a healer in like most cases. Definitely. Yeah, and I think that's also the end of today's stream. So I hope you enjoyed the stream. I had a lot of fun, and I hope to see you around. Have a nice evening. Have a nice rest of the week, and we will see each other, hopefully. Thanks a lot for watching. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you hadn't already. I still have a giveaway up until tomorrow. for 2 times 500 gold. Be sure to check the YouTube channel out. Link is in the description. And yeah, thanks a lot. See you around.